So this was like back in the late 1980s, and I was a professional bouncer in a bar, and I'd been working in some of the big cities, and I just needed to, things to be a little bit quieter. And I actually got hired to go and work in this really rough bar in like a small town in Missouri, and we went and worked there, and it was rough. And I just sat there for the first couple of nights, had a cup of coffee at the end of the bar, watched what was going on, and there was just crap happening everywhere. Tried to touch one of the women that was working behind the bar, escorted that guy out of there as nicely as I could, and then I ended up getting into a bit of a tiff with the local kind of bigwig who owned most of the factories around town and everything else. It was a whole kind of thing. Anyway, I ended up killing his son and marrying like the most beautiful woman in town, and yeah, that was the end of the 80s for me.
That's quite a story, Jay.
Yeah, right. I mean,
I remember when I was a professional bouncer in a bar inside the Amazon forest, and one day I had to fight a leopard. And
wow, nice.
Yeah,
you guys live some amazing lives. That's for sure.
Did you get the film, Brian? Did you know what the film was?
I don't know. I'm just
Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse. If you haven't seen it,
okay,
go and watch it. Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse. Yeah.
I'm just not the movie person. Also, just because a few people have commented it already, the template we're currently using, the overlay for the stream, does have a position for 4 people, and that's because we don't actually have. This surprised me, but I just learned this pre-stream. We don't actually have an overlay for only 3 people. We have one. So get that. This is my fault, obviously. So, but anyways, so we have a layout for 1 person, for 2 people, for 4 people, for 5 people, and for 6 people. We don't have one for 3 people.
This is just how we roll, man.
This is just classic Top Clack. So I apologize, guys, but you guys will have to look at one kind of blank spot. But you do get the other 3 of us here.
Do you know what you should do? You should put like a replaying GIF of like the John Travolta walking around where he looks around the room and walking off from Pulp Fiction or something like that. Just like a GIF. In there.
If I were more clever, I would have put something silly there before the stream. But I was too busy trying to get everything else ready.
Kakan says, "What about 3 people and a midget?" Well, you've already got the midget, and you've got 2 other people. So
yeah, I think
I'm pretty sure
Jay's the midget in this scenario here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Of course, this is just the pre-show, guys. We're just waiting for some more people to roll in here, seeing how you guys are doing in chat before we officially get started.
Shout out to Static Age as well, because he recognized the film Roadhouse. There you go. He was probably the only one who got that. Thank you very much to Upas as well for 17 months of subscriptions, J-Shuff for 21 months, and Captain Schwa coming in with the massive 35-month streak. He says, "Oi, oi, dude, that's a huge streak."
That's a huge streak. Thank you so much, guys.
Hi, mate.
35 months. Wow. Wow, that's like 4 Top Clack babies. That's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of, I mean, I'll say it, of course, once we actually start the stream. But 4-year anniversary coming up.
That's me.
We do, yeah, we do have a
4-year anniversary coming up. Yeah, we got some plans for that. I'm starting to plan that. Yeah, lots of people happy to see Gondo as well. Fantastic.
4 years. Oh, really? Let me take a look. I'm not watching this stream. I'm just venting away.
Well, it's probably
Gondo,
better
that's me. Yes.
It's you.
Get the camera. I'm on Top Clack. That's me.
You finally made it as low as you could possibly go.
No, that's Top Clack, dude. Top Clack's amazing. Gondo in a different setup. Yeah, people are generally used to having an Iron Maiden Eddie with the Scottish flag. Trivia about that flag: there exists only like 50 of those in the world. It's like a special flag that was done, and it portrays Eddie, the Iron Maiden mascot, in the William Wallace, the Scottish clothes and things.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It's awesome with the Scottish flag for a song called "The Clansman," and that was given him a beam by my uncle, and it's generally like on the back part there, and people are used to me with black shirts and Iron Maiden flags, and today I'm in a flowery and with dolls and things.
Hey, whatever floats your boat, man.
Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with flowers and dolls.
I
Right.
won't judge. I've got
Right.
a bunch of flowers I'm not at home. I'm here in the unit. I thought it was at home. I can say I got some flowers today just because I wanted them in the kitchen, not for the wife
Look
or
at
anything.
this.
Oh, she thinks they were for her, but they weren't. It's just because I wanted them to look nice.
Never get this in my life. Like never. Like look at this. And
That's cute. That's awesome. Has
Yeah,
it got
this
all the
is
little
the-
ones inside it?
it does. It has the small things, but it can open it. I'm starting to believe that it's not supposed to be open, but it does have the sound of them.
Has something
Yeah.
inside. Yeah, something.
Has something. Yeah. You
Hmm.
found your
And-
sister's secret stash.
Oh, I wonder secret stash of what? It's a 17-year-old. Yeah, when we got Barbie dolls and those kinds of things. So yeah, I'm out of my place right now.
Solomon in chat says it's a nesting doll. There are smaller dolls inside.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the
but-
babushka ones. You not seen that before, Brian?
I have.
This
I had no idea that's what they were called. I'm not really familiar with that kind of
One
stuff.
is a this one is a genuine Russian handmade babushka doll.
Kakan
got
says there's a
some. I have no idea
Charizard
why.
card inside. Oh man,
No, maybe.
fantastic. All right, I believe we are right on time here at 6. I'm gonna go ahead and roll the intro, and we're gonna get right into it, folks. Welcome to this week's episode of Top Clack, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Quakemz, joined as usual by my lovely co-host, Jay, and we have a special guest today. And it's been a while since we've had a special guest on the main Top Clack segment, but, we thought it was time to kind of bring it back with our new format. It makes it a little bit easier to do this kind of thing. And today we are joined by the one, the only, the wonderfully lovely Gondolindrim. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm going. I'm doing fine. I'm on Top Clack. Can't be better than that.
He's
Yeah,
excited.
Okay. It probably could be a little bit
Why
better.
wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're gonna try to have a good time here, kind of regardless here. So it's gonna be a pretty awesome show, I think. We're gonna start with some little bit of an embarrassing story time, and then we're gonna roll into something a little bit more intensive which is community toxicity. We have a lot to talk about there, and we thought it'd be great to bring Gondo on for this because he has a lot of experience in that area. And then we're gonna round out with a little bit of a show and tell before we roll into our Q&A like we always do. So if you guys have some questions for any of us, we are going to be checking the chat throughout the stream. However, we do have a dedicated Q&A segment towards the end, which is a little bit easier to kind of go through and digest questions in that format. So if you have some questions for us, make sure to save them towards the end, unless they're incredibly topical with what we're discussing during the show. So we try to pay attention to Twitch chat a little bit more lately, just because this new format allows us to do so. So.
Yeah, and speaking of which, big shout out to Whitcell as well. He says, "Glad I could finally make it for another stream." Thank you, man. That's 13 months of subs, dude. That is a great achievement. Thank you very much. We genuinely appreciate that. And shout out to Aaron and I as well, gifting 5 tier 1 subs for a total of 180 gift subs. So thank you. And congratulations to everyone who got a gift sub. There you go. Wow.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, I would really moving up the ladder as the sub gifter here.
Yeah.
He's starting to gain on some of the top guys here. Love to see it. You love to see it.
He's getting up there. He's moving and shaking, if you would.
Moving and shaking. Is that like a British thing?
Yeah. It is, yeah. It means like you're hustling and bustling, you're moving and shaking, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're making progress, you're doing stuff, yeah.
All right, so we're going to start out with something just a little bit more lighthearted. We have an embarrassing story time with Gondolindrim here, because apparently he is the most embarrassing person in the world, and everything he does is incredibly embarrassingly so. So why don't you regale us with a tale of one of your embarrassing moments, sir?
Okay, so I don't know if it shows on camera, but I like eating. Like I like eating a lot. It's the second thing I like the most besides sleeping. And I come from a very traditional Italian. It's amazing, right? It's the funnest things in life. So I spend quite a lot of time cooking, right? And one of the treasures that my family owns is a very, very old Italian recipe for pasta. So what I do is I live in a fairly small town near São Paulo, and we have local farmers. So I go get like local eggs and a local flour, and I make something very, lighthearted, I guess. And I make an evening out of it. So one day I was there and I was making my pasta, and you have to move it around. And then I saw a bunch of chocolate chips on the side, and I'm like, why don't I make chocolate pasta, but a literal chocolate pasta, like pasta made of chocolate. And so I did. I took chocolate, I put inside the pasta, and I mixed it up. And yeah, you can see Jay's face there. Yeah, it turned out
I like where this is
turned
going
out
personally.
it turned out better in my head. Right?
Sure.
The ideas they sound better, John. So okay, and I make something pretty. I made a chocolate sauce. Like I made the whole chocolate thing, and I was like, chocolate, fucking awesome, right? Chocolate, who doesn't, right? And it sounded fucking. It wasn't good. It was awful. It was way too sweet. It was way too chocolatey. Too much chocolate. But that wasn't the best part of it. The best part of it was telling my grandmother, because my grandmother, she's your stereotypical Italian old lady. So then I called her and I said, we call her Nona, which Nona is the Italian for grandmother. And so listen, I took the recipe and I made chocolate pasta, and I called it Choco Pasta. I even gave it a freaking nickname. I nicknamed it the Choco Pasta. And unbeknownst to my person, it is a complete heresy to trifle with a centuries-old pasta recipe. So she got mad and she started cursing me in Italian. And stuff is serious when a foreign person starts cursing you in their language, right? She was like, "Cazzo, perché ha dato tutto pasta?" And she was like, "Ah!" And I've never seen my grandmother pissed like that. Then all my uncles and my aunts, they got in and they said how bad of a family member I was because I fucked up with the recipe, and the recipe was God given, and Jesus himself came from heavens and gave us that recipe, centuries old, and it has worked since the freaking medieval times. And they made that fucking pasta in World War II to fight the Nazis, and so something of these things. And then I spent the whole freaking week feeling bad about myself because I had f***ed up pasta recipe. So that was basically the most embarrassing thing I have ever done to my family, the choco pasta experiment.
Wow.
Did your family disown you after this?
My grandmother hasn't yet forgiven me.
Oh no.
What I've done to her
Oh,
recipe.
wow.
Every time we're together, she's like, "So what about choco pasta?" And she laughs about it and make her some. And I'm like, don't. And when that poking sarcasm, why don't you make us some? And I was like, so no, some of them still look kind of, that dude makes choco pasta, right? It's become a thing in their family. Choco pasta. Right?
Oh man, that's rough.
It is what it is.
That's rough.
It is what it is, dude.
It is.
Wow.
But I'll tell you what. One day, one very, very fatidic day, you will hear about the greatest culinary invention of the 21st century, made by that Brazilian dude called choco pasta, and it's going to be a blast. And I'm going to bring Italian cuisine back to the zeitgeist of modern.
We need to introduce you to Gordon Ramsay and get Gordon Ramsay on streams to try your choco pasta. That's what we need to do. He's apparently rating TikTok recipes at the minute, so we need to get him on those.
Yeah, he's gonna curse me like to hell. That's what he's gonna do.
Probably. I mean, that's the thing about Italian food, right? Is it's always supposed to be like this old, like rustic, like original. This is how you did it the old way, like kind of food. And there's not really a whole lot of, I feel like, modernizing it in the culinary world.
I don't know about like Italians per se. The thing is, in my family, is that since we are a family of immigrants, because my grandmother is Italian and she came from the war and stuff like that, there is this very genuine effort to keep traditions, to keep the language, and to keep recipes and details, right? So I think that there is more to it. It's not only the family thing. It's more of like keeping stuff, the culture, something in those terms, right? I really think that I've hit a spot there, or something very deep, right, that I don't understand yet.
Life's difficult, man. Life is. Solomon in chat. Solomon in chat is quoting what Gordon Ramsay would say about your choco pasta. Your choco pasta is drier than a camel's butthole in a sandstorm.
Wow.
I can see. But I've actually been watching a lot of Gordon Ramsay lately, just for no reason really. But so this really hits home for me. But alas, we can only talk about the culinary world on Top Clack for so long. We do have to dig into kind of the meat and potatoes, if you will, of our topic list today, which is community toxicity. And while we do have a lot of things to kind of talk about and go over and unpack here, I kind of want to start us out with Gondolindrim talking about his kind of history with toxicity in the community, because we felt like it was good to bring him on due to some of the things that has happened to him in the community and how it almost pushed him away from the community. So if you wouldn't mind kind of just giving us a little recap of kind of what happened to you and your kind of dealing with the toxicity in the community, and kind of what, why you wanted to leave and what made you stay, and just kind of take us through your journey there before we get started with this.
What happened was, I think that the big thing about my history with that kind of thing was the Shark PCB. So what happened was that at the time I'm not going to delve into details about how difficult it is to get stuff into Brazil, how expensive it is, but it's like this: whenever you import something, you have to pay 100. You have to pay the same value as fees to the government. So if I order a $200 something, I have to pay $200 to the government as fee. So it's ridiculously expensive. So I wanted to try an Arthur layout. I was in the community for quite a bit of time. I've been in the community as a lurker since 2013. I've got a couple old things like on DSA Deep Space. I've got an MG40, but I've never actively participated in it. So I wanted to try an Arthur. I was like, this looks nice, right? And the one that caught me the most at the time was the plank. So the plank was something that I really, really wanted. So what happened was, I had this friend coming from the US, and he got me one of those Master of B stock cases, which is only the case. And I was like, okay, I'm an engineer. I can make a PCB for this. And so I did. Initially, it was only supposed to be a Brazilian thing. So I was maybe going to sell to a couple friends in Brazil and LS. Then a dude came in. It was Steven from Wood Cables. And then he said, listen, I want to sell this and I'll fund it. And this is kind of the designer's wet dream, right? To have someone fund a project and have it go further. And I was like, sure. And then what happened was that he had a little bit of falling out with Jack Humbert from OLKB. And let's just say that he used words that I would rather he didn't. And then stuff blew up. So what happened was that he made this post on Reddit, and it fucking blew up about how Jack Humbert is trying to block the shark, and they are bad and that kind of thing. And I was new, right? So I didn't know, like, it overwhelmed me at the time because I was just a new designer that wanted to get a PCB. And that's when it started. It started as OLKB fans. And by the way, I don't blame OLKB. I don't blame Jack for this, because there will always be those passionate fans, those passionate guys about anything. But I did get anything that you can imagine, from death threats to racist comments to nude pictures of certain human body parts. It was so much so that I had to delete my Reddit account. Today, if you go to the initial Shark PCB drama post on Reddit, my comment will be, you deleted. I deleted my account because there were the turmoil of toxic messages that I was like, F this, right? So the problem wasn't only that. It was that it continued. I continued to get messages, those very unsavory messages. I don't mean troll messages. I mean heavy stuff, right? And I was fine with it. I was always, listen, it's bound to happen. It's the interwebs. People are douches. And that's how it is. Awesome. What happened what was the last straw for me was when I got sick. What happened was that here in Brazil, apart from all the problems that we have, we were, and still are actually, having an outbreak of a disease called dengue. And dengue can be fatal. So I was in the hospital. I had bowel surgery. It was pretty bad. And when I got my phone to check on whatever, I saw these messages and I said, maybe it's time to stop. Maybe I just need to give myself the self-respect to stop doing this and stop participating in my own abuse. Because if you keep going for it, if you keep searching for it, and if you keep living with it, that means you're part of it too. You choose to keep on it. So that was my thing at the time. So I was like, I'll make this post on Reddit about the F is happening, which was the post, and I'm just done with it. And that was it. I was determined to just stop doing it. Maybe do things for me, some PCBs here and there. I was a mental health patient before, and I had my fair share of problems with that. So when you have those kinds of things, you kind of get the self-knowledge to just know what your breaking point is. You just know that, listen, this is enough for me. And I just left it for a minute. And when I came back, the post blew up. And instead of bad messages, I started getting good messages. And it was really surprising to me because you never expect that. It's really weird that you always expect bad messages. You always expect bad things. You always expect toxicity. You always expect bad words. You always expect that general toxicity, right? No, I got good messages. People saying, "Listen," there was a message of a guy saying, "Listen, I'm doing a PCB for my project, and I need that." And the PCB actually came to life on a keyboard. And please don't leave and stuff like that. Jay gave me a message, and I remember it very clearly that Brian sent me a message, and Jay sent me messages, and many people sent me messages, big designers. And I was very heartwarmed by that. I said, listen, let's just give it time. So I took a month off, and I just got back at it. And when I got back, I was like, maybe I can, use my skill set to make this community better. Maybe I can use the things I know and my abilities, make this community more wholesome and wholeheartedly, which is when the Ekron project, which is the website and the name that I use to design all my designs and the stuff that I open source, that's when it really came to life. It was when I opened the Discord server and said, listen, if you have trouble, if you have questions, if you need help on PCB design, I make streams and I can help you. I can help you do your designs. I can help you make them. And I started helping people doing their stuff, doing their PCBs, doing their designs, and helping them with my knowledge and what it can help them with. And it's been very satisfying from there. Once I had that change in mindset, I guess, of trying to help instead of just designing, not only designing, but trying to help people get into that part of the hobby of designing, then it got really better for me. And it got so better that right now I am facing very, very problematic family problems with COVID. I've had several relatives gone to COVID, and the only thing that has kept me afloat was keyboards, were PCB keyboards. That's the thing I do to clear my mind. I sit on my computer and design PCBs, and I talk to people on Discord. So it has completely, over like 2 years, 1 year and a half, it has completely shifted over this very troublesome and heavy thing for me from the thing that I do keep me sane.
Yeah, and I think I could speak for a lot of people, probably even in this Twitch chat, that it's awesome that you stuck around, because I think a lot of us have come to realize, just how wholesome and helpful you are for the community, and how good the Acheron project is as well. And I know you were mentioning when I first read that post that you put up, I don't even think you and I had ever even talked, but like I read your whole post and I was like, oh my god, that is freaking eye-opening. And I knew I had to message you right after that. I'm sure like a lot of other people did as well. It was very intense, and it really got me thinking because it was only in 2016, only about 4 years ago, when RMK was kind of algorithmically chosen as the second most positive subreddit, just behind r/makeup addiction. Interestingly enough. But yeah, so back then, RMK in particular, just the kind of community at large, even was known as an incredibly wholesome community. That was like one of our defining features. That was one of the reasons people were even getting into keyboards and staying in keyboards, is people were so wholesome and so helpful. And it feels like that's still definitely true to a degree, but a lot of that has kind of shifted, and a lot of people are just going to make the excuse, well, the community's growing, so it has to be this way. Does it? Does it though?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of factors to consider for sure, and we plan on going over several of them. But just to kind of get us started there, why do we think people act the way they do in the community? And of course, Twitch chat, feel free to join in. Tell us what you think. Do you think the community is toxic? Do you think there's no toxicity in the community? Have you had any kind of crazy experiences with toxicity in the community? Let us know. Tell us your story. Let's get this started.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the bigger any community gets, the more prevalent toxicity becomes, and I think the it happens in gaming cultures and all sorts of other areas where things like this happen. PC Master Race, you see it, and all of that kind of thing. And I guess one of the big things I've seen a phase shift away from is the smaller community style projects that used to be so littered across RMK, and now it's all kind of big industrial group buys and everything else. And I wonder if that sense change has caused some people to start to feel a little bit salty if they miss out on something, or rather than seeing a cool project that they want to help out on and things, like a hand wide build that someone's done or anything else, is it things that have driven them away, just the fact that it's become a bit more commercial? Is that something that's causing it?
I think that it's nice to have a maker/designer perspective on this, because once you get to know that part of the hobby, you tend to see it very, very differently. So, for example, we say that. So in 2014, I remember that I joined the DSA Deep Space set group buy, and we had the I remember that around that time we had the 356. We had lots of boards and key sets that today are unicorns that sell for $2,000 plus at the time, and we were just a little. It was what we were. We were a merry band of guys that liked typing on keyboards, and we wanted to make something cool. And that made us, and that glued us together, And I think that's what made it wholesome, was the passion for it. The people are passionate about it. Once you get a design, and particularly for me, I can't speak for every designer, of course, but everything that I do and everything that I put out has a lot of emotion on it, has a lot of passion on it, and it's something that I'm proud of, and I'm saying, yeah, I made this. So it's something that goes really to the heart sometimes. And I think that once a community grows and people start industrializing it a little bit, that portion of the hobby gets away. We start getting less about emotions and passions and more about, money, the group buys, and that kind of thing. Is that bad? Is that good? I have no idea. I think that there is no moral judgment there on, is this good? Is that process good? But that definitely has an impact on how people interact, because I remember that, for instance, we had yesterday we had a kickoff raffle, right? And we had a bunch of users finding themselves over, because one of the dudes got into the raffle and then the other ones were screaming and cursing at him. And I remember that back in the day, we would congratulate someone when they got a board. We would say, dude, congratulations, you got a key code, or you got that super extra duper exclusive board that we all want.
Yeah.
And so I think that that is very symbolic of how those relations change. For me as a designer, uh, that is quite bad because it's very easy to take stuff personally. When people give you feedback on this thing that I have spent so much emotion and so much time on, and people are, how can I say this, a little bit acidic on comments, it gets to you. I mean, then again, I can't say for every designer or maker, but it gets to me. It hits me in a very, very, uh, uh, it hits me home. Uh, So yeah, I think that that's one of the major reasons. I think that it's not only community growth. I think that it's not just a matter of numbers. Like, okay, the community is bigger, and you're expecting people to be assholes. No, I think that it's deeper than that. I think that the fact that the business model is kind of changing from what it were from a small group of people that wanted nice keyboards to small 1,000 unit scale projects, that changes how people interact with the hobby. That changes how people see
sure.
products and see how it works and see how it's designed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Sorry, Jay, go on.
I was just going to say, and Zoombolt comes out with something that kind of leads into that. He says, I think there is plenty of toxicity, and there's other streamers who specialize in keyboard drama and going through interest checks and just speaking ill of people's interest checks and ideas. It's kind of shameful. And I think we do see, I mean, like, there's always space for things like hot takes and things, and people's opinions are great to have. I think there is a very fine line between sharing your opinion and becoming toxic, though. And I think Depleted Vest being kind of touched on this a little bit as well. He said, an often overlooked problem is that some toxicity gets its start as friendly jabs at each other from people who are close-knit, which then gets interpreted literally from outsiders and apes the behavior without understanding what it truly is. And I think that's easily done as well. I've had some people message me before and say, oh, I don't like the way that you spoke to X person on stream. And I think the one that I got a couple messages about was Langlandy, where we'd had a bit of a joke on a stream or on a chat at some point. And it was something that we were both totally fine with, but someone didn't know about that in-joke or that insider comment that we had between us. And they felt not offended by it, but they felt that it was potentially inappropriate, or they felt that it was being negative to each other and shouldn't have been publicized. So it's interesting just how some of that's it's interesting how people interpret that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, conveying, and I mean, this is probably more towards, like, let's say the Discord community side of it, but conveying emotion through, like, text chats and things of that nature is often kind of difficult as well, because you don't always know the tone, the kind of, the inflection that people are putting on what they're saying. Excuse me. But, so, like, when you say something on Discord, if three people say the same exact sentence, for example, you know, it won't necessarily mean the same thing coming from all of them, and it's kind of hard to depict, like, always what exactly someone is trying to say, and sometimes it can come off a little mean, a little brash, or a little toxic. But like you said, a lot of times people are just joking around with friends, and that's totally fine. But, you know, in a lot of the public servers, for example, it's like you have a lot of these newer people, a lot of the people that, you know, maybe they're newer to the community, they're not exactly, you know, in with a clique, or they're not friends with, you know, X and Y and Z, and they don't really understand that yet. So when they ask a question and they get, let's say, a joke response from someone, or kind of like a trolly response from someone, you know, it probably doesn't feel that great to them, honestly, because they're not really getting the information they need. They don't really understand why someone is maybe lightly trolling them or saying something that could be construed as kind of toxic. And I think a lot of people, they just say kind of whatever they want without really, like, having an idea of how the other person is going to interpret what they're trying to say. And I feel like if we just thought a little bit more about it, it'd probably work out a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think that it's easy to forget that it's real people there as well. You know, sometimes it's really, really easy to forget that it's someone else with thoughts, feelings, emotions that's at the other end of the line, the other screen behind what yours is. You know, whoever you're talking to, it's really easy to forget that those are real people with real thoughts and real feelings that you can affect just by the words that you choose to display on the screen, or the words that you choose to say in public. And it always bears well to bear that in mind and try and keep that in place in the forefront of your mind as you're having those conversations as well.
Yeah, and especially because, as I'm finding out more recently, as something I've been kind of going through, is there's a lot of people in this hobby that have mental health issues. A surprising amount of people. When I put out the post that's currently on the website, kind of talking about what I've been going through mentally, I had an enormous amount of PMs from people that are like, hey, I went through the same shit. Here's like what worked for me. I hope everything works out for you. And great messages, but like just the amount of people that are like, hey, like I'm going through this also, or I already went through this, etc. Like it was honestly like mind-boggling. I didn't realize like how much of an issue it could possibly be until recently. And I think that it's something else I kind of want to touch on here is, you know, everyone kind of has different mental health states, I guess you could say, different sensitivity levels perhaps, and I think it's hard when I see someone in the community that's just like, oh, people should just suck it up, they're being silly, like they're just being overly sensitive, like they need to get thicker skin. And I think while that might work for some people, I think generalizing it in such a way is kind of an unhealthy take on the community, because everyone's different, right? You can't say that this person is going to be the exact same as this person and they're going to react the same, they're going to feel the same, and you have to talk to them the same. And I feel like oftentimes people take that approach with every single person, every single conversation in the community, and sometimes it can fall to pieces because of that.
I think that mentality about, you know, there's always that comment, right? I think that you're oversensitive and that you need to man up or
it's
get
a really
ahead,
common,
or, you know,
really easy excuse to go
expression.
with.
It's a horrible phrase to say. To man up.
Yes, but
it's a horrible thing to put.
I think that it's even worse than that. I think that get that people have different mental states, and then again, I had those problems myself. But I think that you can't expect people in real life to, you know, have the empathy to, before saying something, kind of think about. That's not something that you can expect from people. What I can expect from people is, do you want keyboards or not? Because as a designer, I almost got off the community, and were that the case, we wouldn't have some of the designs that I did, which, good or bad as they are, they wouldn't be there. And I have contact with some very high-profile designers in the community, and they all said that to me, that at some point they were just, maybe it was just better that I be done with this keyboard thing and go do other things. Right, it's worse for the community as a product standpoint. When you get people away from the community with that kind of attitude, you get otherwise very talented designers that could be solving the problem of, for instance, we have this very problem that nothing's on stock. People don't find stuff in stock. There are no products there. GPs are hard to enter. Okay, but you keep driving people away. You keep driving designers away. Designers feel underwhelmed about keyboards these days because they know the criticisms and the toxicity that they will need to face when they do designs. So that's something that hurts community. Do you like keyboards? Yes, then be fucking civil and treat people with respect, because then they will design keyboard. One of the examples is AL3. So AL3 is an amazing designer, and he has said publicly that he doesn't touch Reddit. He said, I don't go on Reddit, I don't have a Reddit account, or I don't log into it much because I know that I don't like Reddit for the level of toxicity that it is. Is the Reddit community worse or not? I have no idea, but that's his words, and I can empathize with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know a lot of vendors even forego having things like community Discord servers for that exact same reason too. You know, sometimes it's better just to kind of sit back and do your thing and not listen to all the hate and toxicity, because it's really easy to get swallowed up in it. Hypersloth brings up a good point here. He says, I think we are getting a lot of the same symptoms, that toxicity that we see in the hype beast culture. With exclusivity, there will be those who will quote-unquote flex, for lack of a better word. The more commercial the hobby gets, the more people we get who are not here for the community, they are here for the product. And that's totally fair. That's totally fair. But it's like, if you're here just for the product, then I would imagine you're maybe interacting with the community less, and you're probably just consuming product a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think a couple of people have raised this as well, that sometimes it's those people that aren't the hardcore people that are, you know, into the hobby it's the people around the periphery, the fringes, who are just here to dabble almost, that tend to sometimes have the most toxicity within them. And I don't know whether that's true or not, but a few people have said that in chat. I think there was a couple of different people who mentioned that. So it could well be that way. But I guess for me, the key thing is, how do we make it better? What do we do to make this better? How do we reduce the amount of toxicity, and what steps can we take to make, not just other people respect people more, but ourselves as well? What can we do to show that we respect people and try and change the way we are with people?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is gonna come down to having discussions like this, where other people can kind of see and maybe understand a little bit more. I mean, obviously, this is only going to reach, very little of the actual community at large. But, I think just kind of getting these conversations started is a really good place to be. I don't think there's really like an end-all, be-all answer. There's no way to fully eliminate toxicity. It's just probably not going to happen. There's always going to be people that are just, here for the memes, and they just want to be toxic, and they want to hate on people, and they want to make others difficult, and they want to draw attention to themselves. And there's just not really a whole lot you can do about that. But, we just got to remember that we're talking to real people. We're looking at a screen, and, but we're talking to real people just like us that have, problems in our daily lives and problems with and without the community. And it's not always as simple as everyone has, a happy-go-lucky life and everyone's problems are solved and, everyone can, take the quote-unquote jokes, all day and night in the community.
Yeah, and speaking of people who are on the positive side of the scale, thank you very much to Not Geo for the 35 months of subs, Raging Asian as well for 28 months of subs. Geo says he's sorry, and Ray says Geo says he's sorry. So thanks very much for that. And Till Technic, 100 bits for Gondo. He says, Gondo, thanks for all you do. You're the best. So there you go, Gondo. You are the best, apparently, according to Till Technic.
I doubt it, but I take the compliment. Thank you very much.
Definitely. So I wanted to bring up a point that Melodit actually says earlier. He says, for example, I made a joke in Apiary's chat about silent switches being quote-unquote shit because I know she doesn't like them, but someone else may take that fact as genuinely, and they genuinely shit on others for their preference. Yeah, that's another thing, too. Being able to respect people's preferences is a huge thing in this hobby that a lot of people honestly don't do. I remember, towards the beginning of the Top Clack Discord, we had a lot of new people coming and asking very basic questions. What switches should I buy if I, this is what I might want in a Switch, like any suggestions. And, we had a lot of people come in that would be like, hey, I want a tactile Switch, this kind of weighting, what am I looking for here? And, we'd often have a lot of people that are, very helpful and supportive in answering these questions very well. And we, had an equal amount of people that are like, just go with Vintage Blacks. If you just lube Vintage Blacks, 55-gram springs, Korean custom keyboard. That's what you need. And it's like, well, while that may be really nice, that's not necessarily what this guy is looking for or what they can afford, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's really, really easy to just force your preferences on someone else than it is to try to like dig deeper into what might work better for them. And that's something that I used to, try to do really well throughout the community is when people ask me for advice and preferences, I'm like, all right, strap yourselves in because this is going to be a conversation because I need to ask you a bunch of questions to find out what's going to be best for you. So that way I have the information that I can actually give you suggestions that will actually work as opposed to just being like, you need this custom because it's in demand right now, and you need this plate material because it's the trendy plate material right now, and you need 55-gram springs and this lube because this is what's trendy. And while those things might be good, it's you can't generalize by saying everyone's gonna like this. This is what's gonna work for everyone. And
preference, right?
It's always easier to be mean. It's always easier to ignore, and it's always easier to be unsupportive than it is to actually be supportive and helpful and really fine-tune your suggestions. And that's just one scenario, obviously, but it's always easier to be mean than it is to be nice and helpful.
It is. You're absolutely right.
It's so weird that we are talking about this because the way to make Starston 3 says something very nice. He says the way to make the community more wholesome is a bit of a gatekeeping, and that's true. You can't force wholesomeness because by definition wholesomeness is authentic, right? But I think that what people need to realize is something that I participate in my fair share of voluntary work, right? And one of them is in a church. I'm an atheist, and someone, when was it? It was someone that asked me, "Why the f are you in a church doing voluntary work, helping the poor and stuff like that? If you're an atheist?" And then a priest came in. The priest came in and said, "But it was never about religion." So I think that keyboards, they were never about keyboards. This community is not about keyboards. It's exactly the nice thing about a community is the human element. Is talking to someone and said, "Listen, do you like linears?" "Yeah, okay, so I got these nice ones from whatever, and they feel really awesome, and I think you should try them." And okay, so yeah, I bought whatever Switch and I didn't like them, so yeah, I don't recommend them. And getting to know people's tastes and shaping yours as that thing develops and fusing in that human, I think the right word for it is the human element, right? That part where you interact with people, because as long as you see it as keyboards, you're never gonna get it. You're never gonna get the community because those are just keyboards. You can't get a community from keyboards, right? So that's my opinion on that. Don't make it about keyboards. Make it about people, the community, right? I think that's the way to make it more wholesome.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, and Star's not necessarily wrong either. I mean, to make more wholesome community is certainly gatekeeping in its own way. But is it really best to just let everything happen naturally and go the way that it's quote unquote intended to go naturally, and just let people hate on people and bring people
No,
down and
but
chase them out of the community? I feel like it's maybe not the best way to go about it. Sure, I mean, you could really start splitting hairs and saying some people maybe don't deserve to be in this community or something kind of silly like that. But I don't think it's quite as simple as that.
I think you're right. There's a lot of complexity in there, and it's not as simple as saying that, if someone's got a different opinion for you and they're quite adamant about how their opinion is, and they become quite forceful, and it feels almost like toxicity the way they're displaying it. To try and raise that with them isn't necessarily gatekeeping. It's just trying to teach them to be, a little bit more positive about how they interact with other people. But at the same time, Stars are absolutely right that if you do want to try and enforce a positive behavior, you have to start to remove some of the negative comments when they do get too negative, and by doing that, you're then starting to moderate society and remove elements of people being able to share their own opinions and thoughts and feelings, and that does become slightly oppressive, slightly gatekeepery, and it's difficult. But I guess the real challenge to that is, how do you encourage people to be positive when there's no reward on the line for it, when they can say what they want and say how they feel and be as blunt or as open as they like without ramification? How do you change that behavior?
Embrace them. Starson says, "I'm not saying gatekeeping is bad, it's necessary. I'm saying it's bad." I disagree, Jay. I think that we should let people say what they want. But I think that we should combat toxicity by embracing those people. If you take a look at for instance, the Sagittarius board, right? If you take a look at the IC, there was this dude that said, it was something in the lines of, "This is ugly, and the left part is bad, the right part is ugly." And it was just a toxic comment thrown out there, right? And then I responded to him and said, "Do you want an answer to that?" Sort of, inviting him to a conversation. And then he opened up, and then he gave feedback, like genuine feedback. So I think that the way to deal with toxicity is embracing it. Get that person and say, "Listen, why? Why do you think that? Or why is that opinion?" And in 99% of the cases, you will see that that person has completely unfounded opinions on what. There is the radical 1%. Those guys exist, like the racist messages that I got or death threats. That's something that you can cope with.
Imagine
right?
death threats in the keyboard community.
I got a law enforcement. What do you say when you get a judge to tell someone to stay away like 100 feet from you?
A restraining order.
Yeah.
I got a restraining order on a dude. A dude sent me. I think I'll never forget this. This dude sent me a picture of my sister, and he said, "I know where she studies. So if you don't stop whatever you're doing, it wasn't a sharp time. I'm going to do something to her." And I got the dude, and I got a restraining order on him. That's the level of craziness that stuff can get to. That kind of thing will always exist in any. That's my opinion. There might be any different philosophical opinions on that, but in my opinion, throughout human history, that's always going to exist. That's very extreme people. So that's 99%. But in my experience, you will find that the other 99% of the guys are people just want to experience stuff. They just have this weird opinion about something, and when you call them off on it, and when you get them and address them, they open up. They either they realize that their opinion was wrong, or they feel shameful about what they said. That's my opinion. The way to combat toxicity is to embrace and combat it straight away.
Yeah. And
Wise
Starstone adds to his point here. He says, "There's a fine line to straddle, but it can happen. I've seen a very nice and thriving community grow over the past year, but it couldn't have had it by enforcing a lengthy code of conduct and enforcing it fairly." Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying that we need a code of conduct, right? I mean, we just need to have a little more compassion for our fellow human beings, within and even without the community. We can be like decent to each other, and I feel like a lot of people feel that there isn't a whole lot of difference between constructive criticism and being like, "LOL, this is shit," because like at the end of this day, you're still projecting your opinion, and that's.
But we've talked about this a while though before, Brian. I mean, there's we can have different opinions and still be friends, right? We can absolutely have a completely different opinion of something, still be friends, still get on, and still make the community.
But I see it every single day where people will say something on Discord, and then people that are in that conversation will go to another Discord, for example, and they'll just start shit talking that person like with their friends, and it's like, man, the rate at which stuff like that happens, like just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean you have to hate them. You don't have to, ostracize them from the community. You don't have to, in the extreme cases, send them death threats. Like, you don't have to be that person. You can just, say your piece constructively as you can, as decently as you can, and move on. Get the proper information out there. You don't have to agree with everything. Obviously, like Jay and I don't agree about literally everything. We don't. But you know what? We're still good friends. And I think, it's really easy to do that in the community if you just put in a little bit of the effort to it.
I think that there are very clear responsibilities on the groups of the community. I always tell to my designer friends in the community that designers, they are the true gatekeepers of the community. For instance, I don't know if you guys remember one very bad a very bad incident, which was the Teslatron drama, right? Okay. So the whole thing happened. It is what it is. People get toxic. But then what happened? Nobody did projects with him anymore. He just vanished because no one wanted to do stuff with him anymore. So that's how it's supposed to do. That kind of person is not supposed to be shamed and ostracized. You just don't give him popularity, and that's what what responsible designers should do. What the community, on the other hand, should do is talk about it. Is okay, so what happened? How can we remedy this? Or how can we solve the problem in a civil manner? How can we? That's what the community members should do. One thing that whenever I have these discussions about human behavior, what I don't like to have, and that's not a criticism at all. Don't mind me. I'm not saying that you guys are saying this or anyone said this. What I'm saying is that I don't like comments on how, well, you should respect people, or, well, some people can take it in a bad way, or, well, maybe you should think about how people feel, because those are kind of general statements about basic human conduct that are vain in the sense that if a person can't get that, there's no reason to tell them that. So what I think is that we should get our heads around a much more practical approach to it. What should we do? What should we do when something like that fires up? So, for example, when I see someone shit talking another person on a server, I'm like, dude, listen, have you told them that? That's a first. That never fails. Have you told him that? Have you gotten? Would you have the courage, the gall, to DM that person and call her on that, like those terms that you're using? And 100% of the time they say no, and that makes them feel bad. That inherently makes them feel bad. So that's the kind of thing that we do. Call people out on that. So, then again, this is not a criticism against anyone. It's just that I just don't like that line of thought of, well, we should respect people more and we should this or do that. Okay, yeah, but what are the actions? What should we do? What I try to do is get people around me. So, for instance, the open source thing, many people call me out on the open source. I've had, was it Martin? It was Martin that hopped in on a stream of mine, and we discussed about on stream about open sourcing licenses. So there is a big problem in open sourcing that someone can just take the files and produce the PCB. And you, as a designer, where are you left? Where are you hanging on that? You spent time on that design? And I said, yeah, my license from my PCBs, it's commercial. And what about that? And then Martin, he disagreed. He said, yeah, I think you shouldn't do that because he had these reasons and stuff like that. And then someone on Reddit shit-talked Martin because of that. There was this comment, this very bad comment about the license and that kind of thing. And then at the end, the dude, they said, listen, Martin, this dude is saying stuff about you. And then I told the dude, and it was solved. They talked with each other about that, and it was solved. And I think that is one way to solve things, make people talk.
Yeah, I mean, just opening up the lane for conversation, honestly, is huge, and that's one of the things we're trying to do here. I think we've probably pretty much all been in this situation where we've had arguments with someone in the community for one reason or another. You don't like the other person for this reason, or you don't like what they designed or produced, or this and that. We've all been there, and I'm guilty of it too, and I'm sure the rest of us are pretty much as well. Like, we've all said things we probably shouldn't have. We all say things that we wish we could take back and maybe put some more thought into it. And I completely agree with you, Gondo. I think that if a lot of the people that actually had issues just kind of sat down and talked them out, I think a lot of people would realize just how okay a lot of us are and how decent we can be to each other. And it'd be nice to see a little bit more of that. Quick shout out to Lunar Sama, who did sub earlier. Thank you so much, my friend. And Apiary joins us and subs as well. 10 months. So thank you so much for that. It says, oh my god, it's Gondo.
She also says, I don't like Brian because I don't like that he can grow a beard and I can't. So,
well, that's fine. I'll give you. So DM me after the stream. I'll give you tips. I have some amazing beard growing tips. Step 1, be a guy. That's a good start. Really good start.
Testosterone, right? Yeah, that helps. Even then, that doesn't help. In my case, you see that my facial hair is not like J level. See J?
I was about to say, out of all of us, Jay's actually the one that really grows facial hair.
No.
Yeah, it grows quick as well. It grows really quick. It must be invisible to Gas, but
yeah.
It must be invisible. She can't see this. That's the good thing.
I envy you, dude. I'm gonna shit talk you on a Discord server later after this thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in all my private servers and I'm gonna talk about how awful Jay is at bearding.
God, he can grow a beard, I can't.
Yeah, mine doesn't grow as good as Jay's. Yeah, but
you know what's weird? It's that the root of toxicity is generally that small, right? People get tilted over the smallest things ever, and it's so ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because I've had complaints in the past about things on stream, and quite often they come through as constructive criticism. Like, you should have worded this in a certain way, or you shouldn't have talked about that product in a certain way, or whatever, or I shouldn't have mentioned something that I've talked about on stream. But then I've had, which is fine, constructive criticism. I'll take that on board any day of the week, and I'll try and learn from that and improve how I talk about things and what I bring to streams and everything else. But then I've had criticisms for really weird things, like wearing my wedding ring on stream. Some people like two. I've had two different instances, one in Top Clack days, one pre-Top Clack days, where people have just been really upset that I wear a wedding ring on stream, which things like that just strike me as being really bizarre.
Yeah.
Oh, people will shit talk you for any reason at all. They don't need a reason for that. Like layouts, like PCB design, people will bitch about layouts. Like, dude, just make the PCB. Like,
it's like when someone puts out an IC with like a new keyboard or something, and one of the first comments is like, "This would be better if it was this layout."
Yeah,
this would be better if this was my preference.
You're both nicer at 65%.
And
I got that on Sagittarius so much, it threw me so off, dude.
And it's interesting to think about that too, because I mean, the whole idea is, you want to put out your project, you want to put out what you are passionate about working on, and I think this is probably true for most designers, but they put out what works for them. They put out what they want to make, and not necessarily what the community wants, but they don't. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that one big root of toxicity is also the fact that people don't get the keyboards that they want. Touching that part of the thing, I think that as a newcomer, like you see every time on RMK of people with memes of everything is out of stock, and people will generally be toxic or make drama about your board not having hot swap or not having RGB. I remember that we had a big discussion on the Austin keyboard about ISO. There was AC, and then there was some people going on about no ISO support, right? And it was a big thing. We had like 2 pages of text about people basically shaming. At the time, it still is actually Drifting Bunnies, the owner of Drifting Mekanisk, Austin designer, about not supporting ISO because there was this dude that was very acidic about it, that said that they don't support ISO because they can already fill spots with American, with US alone, and then they don't give a crap about European users, and they just don't do ISO because of that. And
that comes down to designer decision, though. If there's a board I like and it doesn't support ISO, I can be very disappointed, and I might ask for it, but I would never demand it. Like if you said to me, Gunda, you were working on a design and you just weren't going to put ISO in there after I'd asked you politely for it, then that's fine. That's your decision. I should absolutely go and either create my own project that does something similar, or, without stepping on toes design wise, or I should just accept that board's not going to support that layout and move on. There's plenty of other products out there.
Yeah,
I believe that there are some people in the chat where so again in the embracing idea of embracing toxicity, I have had one dude that was one of those dudes. He was toxic about ISO, and they was like, dude, listen, why don't you design the PCB? Why don't you get hands-on, design the PCB? And then I helped him through the process. We made it a thing to help him and him learning about PCB design. And that made for, he's in my Discord server, and we talk a lot about it, and he's an active member today. So I think that that's also a good response to that. Well, you don't like ISO? Maybe we can make one. Maybe we can go on about how to make it, or how can we make it available? Can we talk to the designer? Then again, getting to that human contact thing, talking to people and getting things forward. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Melodit says, one thing I'm curious about, though, is how much can we ask people to constantly be polite given the online nature of the hobby? It's absolutely reasonable to say you should aim to give constructive criticism directly to the individual, but should we also expect people to take the same approach elsewhere, given that the creator may happen upon it? I think it's okay to talk about it publicly as well. I think, constructive criticism is really a powerful thing in our community, and I think it's often overlooked. I mean, it almost feels like it's often one of two of the opposite ends of the spectrum. Either people are way too toxic and they're trolling, or they're something I'm guilty of, it like being too wholesome and not even giving feedback. And I'm just like, hey, this is really cool, but like I don't really have anything more to say about it, which like doesn't really help either. It's just me being silly and nice, but like it doesn't really do much. But it's like, I feel like there's definitely a good middle ground where you can be like, hey, I don't like this for these reasons, but I do appreciate this and this. Or like, if you change this and this and this, like these things might get better, or more people might want it, or something like that. I feel like there's a lot that you can say on so many things, but people often just kind of take the easy road out and don't really do that.
Yeah, and Gasp actually comes back and she says, I'd like to hear opinions on entitlement versus constructive criticism. I think you're right, Gasp. It's right to call it out because there is a fine line. Like, there's a fine line between saying, do you know what, my criticism of your board being constructive is that I would like to see, an additional bottom row offered. So instead, split space bottom row on a TKL, for example, that's absolutely up to the designer if they want to include it or not. And I think demanding it is very much not right. You shouldn't be entitled to have everything that you want laid out on a platter for you. You're very much at the whim of the designer. It's the designer's decision. But there's nothing wrong with asking. So if you're polite, you're well-mannered, and you ask, I think that's fine, irrespective of whether the designer says yes or no. That's a completely different topic. But entitlement is very different. There's also a lot of people that feel entitled to win certain raffles or be able to buy certain products, and if they can't then buy them, they feel very upset. We saw this quite recently with Mike from Novel Keys on the NK65, the entry edition, when that went on sale, and they all sold out pretty quickly. And then people put up all of those Reddit threads saying that they were very unhappy that Mike hadn't foreseen this and planned ahead and bought 3,000 more units or whatever else they were suggesting on that thread. And it can be really, really negative. And I remember seeing Mike's response for that, and it kind of upset me a little bit that Mike felt that he had to put out a public response to try and apologize for people feeling that way.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, that's something we might be talking about on next week's episode as well.
A good segue, that wasn't it?
yeah, good. thanks for leading me along there. Starstone says something might not be to your liking, but still be able to give criticism. Like, I don't like Becca01, but still gave some criticism. Sure, and I mean, as long as the criticism is constructive, I think that's beneficial for everyone, right? Like, you say it in a public thread or something, everyone can kind of see it. As long as it's not, as long as it's not hateful, as long as it's not trolling, as long as it's not criticism without the constructive bit, right? Like, you can not be interested in something but still have opinions on it, and you can still give those opinions. Absolutely. And that's totally fine. It's just how you present yourself and how you project these thoughts and feelings and opinions that I think really kind of make or break a lot of things in the hobby.
It's weird that we... Was that Jay? Sorry.
Go. No, go on. You go.
No, I was just. It's weird that we're talking about this because it rings so much home. I'm when I was in the airport coming here, I bought this book from Jacques Derrida. I don't know if you guys know that. He was a French philosopher, and he worked very well with the philosophy of, especially movies, cinema, right? But communication in general. And he had a problem with critics. He had a problem that two critics, they have the same opinion, don't like the movie or the book or whatever, but the way that they express that generates a different feeling in you. So I think that the line between constructive criticism and entitlement is not fine. I think they are very different in the sense that it's not about the opinion. It's not about, so the person has an opinion. I don't like that, or I think it could be better, or I think that this concept would be better employed in this or that way. That's an opinion, that's a feeling he has, but the way that he voices that is really the key. So I could say, your board is shit. Or I could say, listen, maybe you could make it better by doing this or this or that. They're the same opinion. It's just the way that you convey that. And that goes for life, right? Voicing opinions is the key to communication skills, which is what the industry today calls soft skills, right? The big coaches and the big companies and those guys, they talk about soft skills. That's just that, knowing how to voice your feedback, your opinion. So I think that you can't ask from people a different mindset. You can't ask from people to feel different about something, but you can ask from them to use a certain language, to use a certain voice to convey that feeling. And that's really something that I think defines them. And I think that is really something that the people that rise above, because we all know that person which is so good, and that person that we really look up to, that rises above all of that. Everyone has that person, right? And you can see that kind of person, they can ignore the words. That person, they can ignore the message and get right onto the feeling. And that, okay, so that person feels like this or like that. And that is something that particularly I look to see in comments, So I think that from a user standpoint, one thing that they could do is trying to voice feelings in a certain manner, in a manner that they think would help. Being helpful. Don't be a jerk, right? That's what I think would be the motto to stop being toxic.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems simple, but something I feel like a lot of people might have just a lot of trouble employing. But I mean, I think it's certainly worth a try for a lot of us. I mean, just take, and like, you can start small, right? Everyone just maybe pick a day of this week, and you're gonna maybe go say something, give some constructive criticism on an interest check or something, or you're gonna go into a Discord server and you're gonna make a comment, or be supportive and help someone out if they're asking like a tech support type of question or something. And I think if we all just kind of get on that track, I think it'll probably be a lot better than a lot of people realize. Just because we'll have so many more people actively thinking about their approach to the community and their approach to interacting with other people on a daily basis. Because a lot of us, we spend most of our time on a day in a Discord server, right? Like, a lot of us are in and out of Discord servers all day talking to people about this and that. And it only takes one comment to make someone's day, and maybe give them a helping hand, and just give them some constructive feedback. And I think a lot of us can do that, and it'll make a pretty enormous difference, to be totally honest.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I also had a really good thought, but now I lost it. Now I feel bad. Feels bad, man.
I hate it when that happens. You're like, I'm going to talk about this, and then
you
forget.
Okay. Basically, what I was going to say is that what a lot of people don't realize is when you say something, particularly in a public setting, that other people are going to see, a lot of people don't take into account how these other people are going to see that. Because, like, let's say you say something in a Discord server, someone asks for feedback on an interest check or whatever, and someone comes back and goes, okay, that's really bad. They don't explain why, they just say that's really bad. Now, there may only be 2 or 3 or 4 people active in this conversation, but that doesn't mean there aren't dozens more reading what's happening in that server at that moment. And when they see that, maybe they're new to the server. Maybe they don't know who's a jokester and a memester and a troll in the community. They don't know who's wholesome and helpful and positive and supportive. They just see this comment that says, "LOL, this is shit," or insert whatever sentence you want there. And then they see that and they go, "Okay, that person must be right." And then they leave the server or whatever, and they take that opinion elsewhere, and then maybe they start to spread that. And it's like wildfire at that point, right? And like, people will say these things without thinking of any kind of repercussion for the community in general. And it's hard to stop, man. It's hard to stop, but it's something that, at least in the Top Clack server, I'm really trying to get a lot better at, and it has been definitely improving as well, because every server has their issues, and people that kind of contribute to the toxicity or something or other.
I think that one thing that we could make a joint effort to do would be to invite people to know more about the designing aspects of the community, because it is one thing to consume the products, it is other thing to see how they're made. And once you get to know how these products are developed, deployed, and manufactured, you can you can get a very clear idea of why the community works, that it works. So, for instance, a lot of people, I have seen lots of threads on GeekHack about people asking about the group buy model. So there is this very big questioning these days of people questioning themselves if the group buy model is really the best one, if it indeed works. I'm going to talk from experience myself. So Brian is there. We have a little private group for the Lesgolot PCB, right?
Yeah.
And someone asked me if they can do. So I have like 30 people there or something, and someone asked if they can have two. And I said, listen, I'm sorry, I can't give you two because I will hand solder, test, assemble, flash every single one of them by hand. And it's really not something that is feasible. If I keep opening to more people, we'll never deliver these PCBs. The same thing with keyboards. For instance, the Sagittarius, right? So the biggest criticism we had about Sagittarius was the case, right? So the case had its problems and yada yada yada, and then we got Yupas to redesign it. We talked about it, and we got some feedback, and he's redesigning it. And now people are asking him when it's coming back. When are you gonna deliver the freaking case? And it's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as putting 2, 3, or 4 more curves there, and bada bing, bada boom, that's a new keyboard. No, there's a lots of thought put into it. That's prototyping. There's um, time, and there's so much patience that you have to put in it. And so for Novel Keys, for instance, I'm pretty sure that Novel Keys wants to sell as many boards as they can. If they could offer more boards, they would, because they want to sell them. If they are not, that's simply because they can't reliably, with a certain degree of quality, supply more boards. That's not their fault. That's not that they want to keep them exclusive or any other evil intent that people can come up with. Particularly as a designer, I want to see my designs enjoyed and used by the biggest number of people. So I think that, albeit a lot of the frustration in the hobby coming from the group buy model and how things are designed and manufactured and sold, I think that if people got a little bit into designing and at least knowing a little bit more how it works, it would pacify and explain why things are like they are.
And do you, on that thought, do you think that if vendors, designers, manufacturers, if they shared how things work a little bit more, if they provided more information or content, to show how that's happening, do you think that would help, or do you think it needs something a little bit more community led to kind of talk people through, like AIO3 server does, where it shows you how to go about designing a board? Which side do you think that falls on? Where do you think that sits?
I think that there are two spectrums to it. The first one being the AIO. Let's use the word AIO3, right? So the AIO3 side of it, which is something that I try to do, which is helping people design their stuff and embracing them and helping them and sharing knowledge and that kind of thing. But that's from one person. That's from me. This is something that I do in my free time. For vendors, I think that it would be nice if vendors could share a little bit more insights on the manufacturing process, really. For instance, I was watching these days the Salvoon stream. And he shows literally how the keyboards are made. He shows his machine doing the thing. Then you keep on thinking, how much time and effort does it take to make a keyboard? And you will find that a single keyboard takes months to produce, between machining, drilling, anodizing, checking. Some of them don't even make it. Some of them have defects that they have to be thrown out or sold as B stock, right? That's one idea. The other idea would be communication. I think that vendors being a little bit more open on how things are going would be better. For instance, let's use again AIO3. So AIO3 had the Polaris, right? And the Polaris sold hugely absurd amount of unit. And every single week he gives, not a week, but very sporadically, he gives updates on what's going on, why the boards haven't been delivered yet, what's happening. And I think that once that communication kicks in and people know why it's taking so long, or what is happening, and how the process goes, that really helps with that frustration circle revolving, right? So yeah, my answer to you is that communication. I think that vendors should communicate more instead of doing like I'm with you about the. I agree with you about the open letter that Mike did. I think that's not something that you should do. Instead, I think that they should have put out something like, "Listen, I can't." That's simple as that. I can't do any more of them. I don't have the personnel or whatever limitations that he has. And maybe next time he can be a little bit more not transparent but communicative on what's going to happen. So tomorrow I'm going to open this many spots because that's just how many I can do, and then I'm going to trying to do, and then I'm going to trying to do more or something like that. Keycult does that, which is something that you never see people raging about Keycult. Why? Because whenever they do a raffle, they send you an email if you won it, if you didn't win it, why you did win it, and the email is very nice saying, okay, so listen, we're trying to get board for everyone, but unfortunately we can't, and they have really nice email about that. So I think that communication is the key there.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Trolling Cootie in chat is commenting on the Discord example I brought up just before this conversation. He's asking, but whose fault is that? Is it the person for not checking and making his own opinion, or the person being themselves with the people they know? I think you're missing a little bit of the point in my example here, because in my example where someone is making a criticizing comment that isn't constructive for maybe a newcomer that's asking a question they just want to answer that might seem incredibly basic to us. Is that, as a newcomer, they're probably not, automatically friends with a lot of the other people that are in that server making these comments to begin with. And also checking to making his own opinion, for example, or, doing the research, as a lot of people say. That's a lot of what the Discord server is supposed to be there for, right? We have a specific channel that's for interest checks and group buy feedback and to talk about them. It shouldn't necessarily be like any other way, right? Like when you go in there asking for opinions, like that is part of the research. That's how I learned in the community. I talked to people that knew more about this stuff than I did. And you know what? I learned a lot because of it. And, I can't speak for every other Discord server, obviously, but for the Clack server in particular, I want people to be able to get their questions answered there. I want them to be able to get the help that they want there. And just because, they're not like, Googling and going to all these other crazy, like all these outlets. Because, let's be honest, the information across the community really spread out. You're going to go to different places, you're going to find different things. But at the end of the day, if you come to the Clack server, for example, like, we want you to be able to have your questions answered, even if they're basic. You're brand new to the community, for example. Maybe you don't have a mech yet, and you just want some questions answered to try to figure out what you want to buy. You shouldn't be threatened. You shouldn't be criticized on that. You should get the help you need, even if it's basic stuff that, we take for granted every day. Like, the knowledge that we have for being around in the community for so long, it's really easy to forget that a lot of people don't know a lot of the same things that we know. And this, this goes for a lot of people in Twitch chat too, because a lot of the people that watch our show tend to be pretty experienced enthusiasts. So, it's easy to take that for granted, but you got to remember, like, we were all in that spot at one point as well. And if you come into the community and you're like, hey, like, what, this is kind of what I like what switch should I be looking for here? And like, this is my budget. Like, what kind of things can I expect within this? Like, you want those questions answered as a newcomer, right? Like, you don't want to just be trolled and like chased out of the community and chastised. Like, what's the point in that? Then it just feels awful. That's not how you want to bring people into the community, right? I certainly don't.
Yep.
No, definitely.
And it's weird how it becomes like a circle in where like newcomers come to the community, and if they feel like the community is toxic, then they start being toxic to the community. So it becomes this weird circle of feedback
Negativity.
of toxicity. Yeah, and I think that the communication issue, the Discord servers and whatever sources of information you're going to get, that's always going to be a problem. I don't see, and I don't think it would be good to have a centralized source of information and communication. So there is also the other end of there is also the other face of the coin. I'm here talking for an hour about how the community and how the designers should embrace and give it some effort. But of course, there is the need for the, the, the individuals to also make a little bit of effort and actively make it better or something like that. I think that's totally legitimate.
Yeah.
Trollicootie in chat says, "God, my name. I'm feeling attacked." I wasn't trying to attack you, man. This is merely to provoke discussion, right? I don't think you're being toxic here. I think all of this is just really good information that a lot of people, should be involved in discussing of. And
absolutely.
If I were attacking you, that'd be very counterintuitive to this entire stream. Let's be honest.
Just reaching back to touch something on something you said there, Gunther. I think you mentioned that it's almost like a learned behavior sometimes, negativity, that people hear something and then they pick it up and they repeat it. And that happens quite a lot, does that learned behavior in communities and in life in general. It's like there was a famous experiment done where I think they put like 10 monkeys in a cage, and they had bananas on top of a ledge, and if a monkey went to get to the bananas, they all got hers. Every single one of the monkeys got hers. And even if you change the monkeys over time, my camera's lost focus again, even if you change the monkeys over time, because they've learnt that behavior, anytime a new monkey is brought into the enclosure, if it goes for the bananas, all the other monkeys pulled it away from the bananas and tried to say, and tried to let it know that it can't go for them. But that monkey doesn't know why it can't go for the bananas because it's never seen the hers, but it still doesn't. And even if you get rid of all of the original monkeys and you've just got the new monkeys in there, none of them will go for the bananas because that's the behavior they've learned. And I think you're absolutely right that you need to try and break that cycle. And I think the challenge is, how do you do that? What can you do to break those negative feedback cycles? What is up with my camera?
I think that your comment is awesome, because the moment that you use the term learned behavior, then you can ask, then can't you learn the opposite? Like, if you can learn to be toxic, if the circle of toxicity can be learned, can you make the other way around? Can you make newcomers get in, see that this community is embracing and wholesome, and keep it that way, and keep it a certain, in a certain way? And I think that it's completely possible. I think that there's lighting on the tunnel there. I think that it's completely feasible to transform all of this into a very nice learning experience for people to see. Listen, if you are dicks, no keyboards for you. That's as simple as that. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's a simple yet so complex lesson, right?
Yeah, and J-Shift actually says
I was
something.
about to say.
Bottom line is, this is a really good one. Is this? J-Shift says, bottom line, be what you want the community to be. So act how you want the community to act, and try and share those behaviors with people. Absolutely right, J-Shift. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think Brian was going to pick up on the same one.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I was like, jackpot, because it seems so simple.
Hammer, nail, head. That was the perfect.
It seems so simple, right? It's just like the classic, like almost like the age-old, like treat people the way you want to be treated sort of approach. And like, we don't really think about it, but if everyone did that, how immense of a difference would that make for our community at large? Literally immense, insanely large difference. That'd be quite something.
No, Melo, that said basically Kant. No, that's not Kant. That's a Varadustra. That's Hinduism. Kant took it from Hindus. But anyways, I think that the thing is that it's so easy, right? So be what you want the community to be, or be the change in the world. You have all of these effect phrases, right? But it's not as easy as it sounds. Doing that, oops, my computer is going to. Okay, it's charging up. Oof, almost. Anyways, when you try to do that yourself, you're going to see that it's not as easy as it sounds. But I mean, individually. Being the change that you want to see is not immediate. It's not. You have to put in some effort in that. It's like, for instance, we have. Let's take for example religions. We have literally 1,000 years old book lessons. People that were saying the same thing over and over and over, and we haven't learned that yet. Right, because it's not easy. That's as simple as it is. So I think that I think that th- there is some effort to be made. It's not easy. It's hard. So it's not simply that phrase. It's something that we have to actively search and promote in order for it to eventually work.
Yeah, and just like we've said multiple times here, it does take more effort to be that kind of person than it does to just like criticize and laugh it off and walk away, right? Like that's so much easier to do, which is why I think a lot of people do it. And at the heart of the matter, I mean, most of these people that are trolling and toxic, they're not inherently bad people. Like they're really not. And like you mentioned, like once you kind of embrace the toxicity, you kind of start to dig a little bit deeper and maybe have some conversations and kind of open up to them, and you start to learn more about them and kind of why they're acting the way they are, and it starts to seem a little bit easier to maybe change their minds for the better, you could say.
Yeah, I think that once we get that little bit more of culture to tackle it head on, we get to see that that's exactly what people are not bad. It's not that the person is bad. It's just that he's opinionated and maybe he has feelings that he doesn't know how to expose properly. Or so what I'm trying to say really is toxicity is stupid in every single aspect that you look at. Toxicity is basically an inability, is a kind of suffering that the person has not to be able to communicate, right? Then again, there is the 1%. There is the extreme, but that's 1%. 99% of people, they just want their keyboards. They just want their whatever, and they're frustrated with one another, and they voiced it in an unsavory way. That's how I see toxicity. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, yeah. Jay, imagine not using autofocus.
Well, it is using it, and it keeps annoying. I don't know what's happening because I haven't changed.
Sorry, imagine not using autofocus.
I know, but I just tried to find the setting to turn it off, and I think I have to turn it off on the
camera.
camera.
I know, but just because we're talking about toxicity, I have to troll you a little bit here on stream. I know, for the just for the joke. So now, obviously, we hate each other.
Comment again.
We hate each other, and we should go to different discords and talk smack about each other immediately after this. Oh man, maybe now it's time to kind of lighten things up a little bit and move on to our final topic on the dock today, which is a little bit of show and tell.
Yeah,
and we're gonna mix it up a little bit. Last time we did show and tell was a couple weeks ago, and we showed off a couple keyboards, and that was cool. Today we're gonna mix it up a little bit, and we're gonna show off some non-keyboard items. So I know this is going to be a little bit more difficult for Gondo because he's not in his original kind of streaming location, which is partly why you notice the lack of audio quality, I assume. But hey, that's just how it goes. Sometimes it's just live streaming, right? You got to do what you got to do sometimes, and you just got to roll with the punches.
Absolutely, yeah.
No, you could have me in again a second time.
Oh, totally. Yes, of course.
Absolutely,
inviting myself.
You know what? That's fine. That's totally fine. I'm okay with that. I'm pretty open about that kind of thing. Shout out to Yak Bats for the Twitch Prime sub. Says love you guys and your new format. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, man.
That's a username I haven't seen in a while, but that goes back a while. I recall that username from a while back. So glad to see you again, my friend. Glad that you guys are enjoying the new format. I know some people don't like it quite as much, and that's just the way it is. But to the people that do, thumbs up. Appreciate that.
Can I get toxic at my camera?
Can you?
Is that allowed?
Just turn the autofocus off, man.
I can't. I need to do it on the camera, which means I have to move the whole thing. I can't do it remotely. I've just been trying to do it in the settings, and I can't do it remotely. I have to physically go and change it on the camera.
It's okay. It wouldn't be a top Clack stream if it wasn't a little bit janky in at least 3 or 4 different ways. But that's just where it is.
Yeah, just high fives, everyone.
Right? Just high fives. Like every time that I watch Top Clack, the only thing that goes through my mind is this man is doing it, and it's fucking 3 a.m. What time is it right now?
3:27 a.m. for me. Yeah.
Dude, you're a fucking hero. I wouldn't be able to talk plainly about whatever when it was 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So big props. Big respect, mad respect.
Oh, I talk crap a lot of the time just because I'm so tired, I think. But yeah. No, I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it, and I wouldn't do it if I thought that I didn't have anything to bring to it. And I genuinely enjoy being on the show, and I genuinely enjoy chatting to people. And I genuinely enjoy sharing my thoughts and opinions, and having conversations with you, Gondo, and other people. I genuinely love doing this. Maybe not so much Brian, but all the other guests that we have on the show.
That's okay.
Get you back for those camera comments.
That's okay. You could. You're more than free to poke fun at me, man. I want it and I expect it from you.
Excellent. And thank you very much to Thornkin as well for 3 months of subs as well. Thank you very much, dude. We genuinely appreciate those. Thank you.
All right. So
should we move into this show and tell then? Should we start to do some show and tell?
Yeah. So I have a couple items here that I kind of wanted to show off. Some of my favorite non-keyboard related items. So I'm gonna start this one off, and this is gonna be an obvious one for a lot of people because a lot of people that have watched any of my build streams have seen this probably numerous times. But if I know a lot of you probably don't watch my build streams because I am like the worst build streamer in the community right now. So totally understand if you guys don't watch. But this is my hand-painted Chi wrist dress that I got on a group buy on Geekhack. God, it must have been close to 2-ish years ago now. And this is just, I'm trying to get a good picture of it here, but this is just freaking adorable. And this is one of those items where it just like, it seems kind of silly and like whatever, but like, this is one of those things that when I look down at my desk and I see it, it just kind of makes me smile. And I think that's a really good thing in the community, is to try to like find the things that you like. Because why are we in this hobby, right? No one's in this hobby to make enemies. No one's in this hobby to have drama, really, or like, have a bad time. Like, no one's really entering the hobby for those reasons. And I feel like it's sometimes easy to get lost among a lot of that stuff. And it's kind of nice just to have something that you can look down at your desk and just be like, that's so silly, but it's adorable, and it just makes me smile. So that's my first item today on my my non-keyboard show and tell. And
awesome. It is really cute. It's genuinely lovely.
Yeah, it really is too. It really is. And second up is one of my favorite tools that I use, and this is a Key Boss key opener, and this has been my favorite switch opener that I've tried so far. And I know there's a lot more switch openers on the market these days since this has come out, but I gotta admit, this has just been the best one I've used so far, and I really enjoy it, even though it's just a silly chunk of aluminum. It does a great job of opening switches.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got two things as well. Funnily enough, one of mine is a wrist dress as well. This was actually sent to me this week, and a guy called Nexus reached out on one of my build streams quite recently and shared a picture of one of the wrist dress that he'd made. So this is made from old pallet wood, but he's cut this, he's sanded it, he's stained it himself all nicely. It fits my JO1 perfectly. It's the right length. He got measurements from me. It's the right height and everything else. And it's just a genuinely lovely thing. It's all handmade from old pallet wood, as I say. It's just a really nice thing. And he sent this to me this week, and I just absolutely love this already. I've had it on my desk all week. And yeah, I can't thank him enough for making that for me. It's just a really nice thing to have. Like, it's got a lot of effort gone into it to just make something, and that's what I like. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, so thank you very much to Nexus if you're watching. I genuinely love this. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I'm going to treasure it forever. The second thing that I've got is actually an artisan, and this is from the charity event that Minsley and Alex Otos did quite recently, and this is a Fukotsku, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, made by ETF. And this sculpt and this colorway, I love marbled artisans, and this one is just quite possibly one of my favorite artisans in my collection now. I absolutely love this, and the fact that I got the privilege of buying this to give money to charity is just phenomenal. So I just want to say thank you to Mintley, Alex Otos, Nightcaps, everyone that was involved with that, for giving me the opportunity to spend some money on a great cause and come out with something as cool as this as well. So yeah, I really love that.
Man, that's awesome. Fantastic. I remember when the Fugu sculpt first came out. Man, that was a while back when I was still into artisans. That was wild. I love Nightcaps though. Marcus is such a cool dude, and he does such great work. All right, and I know you don't have a whole lot to share, Gondo, because you're not in your typical environment. However, I do know you're currently typing on a mechanical keyboard, so maybe you could show off that a little bit.
Maybe. Yeah. So this is an IDP 60.
Love that
I
board.
can show you, and it's amazing. It's an impressive board for the price. This board has a little bit of history. What happened with this board was that a member in the Brazilian community, his name is Undecided Shark, which is a nickname that I gave him actually. He was selling it, and he needed it to buy a Rukia. He's buying a Rukia. He got into the Rukia limited edition. He got a Spontan, and I bought it off of him. The problem being that the switches that it had weren't really to my liking. They were not well lubed. So I removed them and I put in some switches that I bought with Tom, the Sagittarius guy, which was some retooled blacks, and I put them on, filmed, and this has been my daily driver for the 20 something days that I've been here working, and I freaking love it. This is a very nice board. I love how it turns out. It's slick, simple, does the job. I love it. But the two non-keyboard whatever things that I have would be the Shark PCB poster. So when the Shark PCB came out, I made a huge poster. It was a black and white poster of the PCB, and I printed it, plotted it in a A3, A2 paper, like a huge paper, and I put it in my room. It's still there. And the second thing would be a Clouds of Bespin artisan uh, that I got. That was a prototype, and it has a little Millennium Falcon in it.
That's
It
awesome.
does say profile, but it's beautiful, and it's like the Millennium Falcon is coming out of the coming out of the I forgot the name now. There is a planet called
Tatooine.
Bespin in Star Wars where Han Solo got frozen, and
Mhm.
Clouds of Bespin
Cloud
are
City.
like
Oh,
the
Cloud City.
Millennium Falcon getting out of the clouds, and the clouds are a little bit orangey. You know that orange that's pinky? I believe it's called salmon.
Mm.
It's a freaking awesome. It's a freaking awesome artisan, and I'm using it and I'm going to build it in my QXP. I have a QXP, and I'm going to put it there. I don't have them here. I came here before I knew I was going to be in Top Click. Otherwise, I would have brought them. But I can show them later on.
For sure, for sure. All right. Well, that's good stuff. So we're going to talk about our sponsors for just a moment. Then we're going to roll into a Q&A. So if you guys have questions for Gondolindrim or, your favorite Top Clack boys, myself or Jay, we're going to be sticking around answering some questions. So go ahead and feel free to start queuing those up. You can use the @Top Clack tag rather in chat. And that'll help us pick the questions out a lot easier. So please, please, please use that if you do have a question. And yeah, let's talk about some of our awesome sponsors that help us do the things that we do. Starting with the wonderful, wonderful Novel Keys, who has numerous things going on as per usual. Starting with GMK Bento Round 2. So this has been a pretty popular one. Did fantastic on the first run, enough so to warrant the second run. And now you can pick up another kit. So if you're a fan of the Bento colorway and you've been waiting for the round 2, well, bam, here you go. And there's pretty much a kit for everyone here. They really went all out on this run, it seems. So definitely looking pretty nice. If you're more of a Mecha, maybe an Evangelion kind of fan, Mecha 01 is here as well. So bam, you got a couple GMK set options going on this week, or this month rather. And if you're a fan of switches, the Novel Keys new Silk and Dry series are something that might tickle your fancy. A lot of the variants are sold out, but you can still pick up a couple of them. They still have the red silks in stock, as well as the, if I'm not mistaken, the dry yellow ones. I did look before the stream, so I'm not entirely stupid here. So they do still have... yeah, there's. Yep. I feel like it's always one of those things where like I say that, and then like as soon as we start streaming, it changes and it sells out, and I'm like, okay, I'm dumb. But anyways, these are some of the new novelty switches that a lot of people have been really enjoying. The Silk series is the new fully lubed switch from the factory, so that's kind of a big deal that we talked about a couple episodes ago. I'm going to be doing a build stream with those in the very near future. Dry series kind of a similar vein, except they're not fully lubed; they're fully unlubed instead. So that's more of the DIYers kind of approach. Either way, 55 cents a switch. pretty darn low, especially when you consider the fully lubed version. So hopefully he's going to be restocking all of the versions in the very near future. I do believe he does have some on the way. So that's going to make a lot of people happy because a lot of those sold quite well. Quite well. And if maybe you're not a fan of those, he pretty much has something else for you regardless. Maybe you want some OSA sets, you want some other switches, you want some sampler packs, desk mats, hats. He's pretty much got it all. I don't know if he has plushies in stock, which is really unfortunate, but hey, when he does, make sure to be all over those as well because the plushies are freaking adorable. And if you're buying something in stock only, not group buy, you can use the promo code Clack, and that'll get you 5% off your total order. So make sure to do that as well.
Yeah, awesome. Moving over to our second sponsor of the night is Kono.store. Now, Cat Cyberspace has just launched, so if you're interested in getting a cat set that's got a bit more of a cyberspacey feel to it, this might be right up your street. So that's now in Group Buy, and you can pick that up with a ton of different kits. There's so many different kits, and there's also a really, really cool kind of keyboard kit where it actually comes as one of those peel away from the frame and put it all together like an FX model, which is kind of cool. That's kind of cool. So I think we've seen that with the JTK Mars board, and this is the second version. So that, yeah, check that out if you're interested, guys. It's pretty cheap, so definitely have a look at that.
$30.
I know, it's crazy, right?
So
I've picked up one of the Mars ones, but I'm interested to see how these come out because they look great. So why not, right? My camera's doing the focus thing again. As well as that, GMK Prepress is also in Group Buy right now. So if you are interested in this, please do pick it up. I've already bought a set from one of the other proxies. It is struggling a little bit, but you know, guys, if you like this kit, if you like what it stands for, if you like printing and all of those kind of colors and everything else, please do consider picking that up. If you have missed one of the group buys that Kono has run, they do have pre-orders up and available for a lot of the different sets. So if you've missed such as SA2600 or any of the GMK sets they've run, or the EPBT Ivory set, then you can go and pre-order a set right now for a little bit more price than group buy price, but a lot lower than the extras price, and you'll get it when the group buy ships, which is great. So definitely go and check those out. Finally, if you are interested in picking up a keyboard for a friend or someone who's new to the community, or you just need a board to travel with or for an office use or anything like that, now we're all starting to go back to work, check out the Hex Gears Gemini, X1 and Venture, because they are pretty good wireless, low-profile mechanical keyboards.
Heck yes. Moving right along, we have next up the KBDfans. And they have quite a few things going on right now, as well as something I'm kind of interested in is the new KBD67 Mark II and the KBD8X Mark II, which aren't actually in stock right now. However, the pre-orders have been open for these pretty recently, so I know a lot of people have been scrambling to get these. I've been seeing a couple of them sell for pretty high prices on the aftermarket. So definitely an in-demand item here. So it's kind of cool you're able to kind of pre-order these again. So happy to freaking see that. It's about time. A lot of people have been waiting on that. They also have, let me if I can load this page correctly here. Whoops, that's not the one I was looking for. They have lots of other things in stock, so it's kind of like a one-stop shop. So whether you want some PCBs, some plates, some cases, some switches, stabilizers, artisans, complete keyboards, you want some Topra keycaps. This is one of those places that's really kind of a one-stop shop these days, and they sell pretty much everything. A lot of really good entry-level stuff and kind of less expensive items. So maybe if you're new to the community and you're on a budget, maybe you want to check out some DIY kits or something, they probably have something for you, hopefully within your budget. A lot of the things are relatively inexpensive here, so definitely worth checking out, especially if you are newer to the community.
Absolutely. And moving over to our final sponsor of the day, it is Mekanisk. So the wonderful Leandrin at Mekanisk. Not much on the store right now, but the WT60D PCBs are back in stock, or they were when I checked just before the stream. I'm hoping they're still there. And also, of course, the Duroc stabilizers in that ultramarine colorway as well. Big shout out to Leandrin though for running the Tinned Group buy earlier on this year. And I think the Clipper, the Fial, and a few other boards are coming back, and of course he's been teasing that new colorway, the new E colorway, electrophoresis colorway, which is called Ultra Hot, which is a really nice bright pink. Any of you into those vaporwave kind of colors, this might be a perfect match for laser or something else. So do check those out when those boards release in those colors, because I think there's some quite exciting things coming. A big shout out as well to his new update site as well. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'll post a link into chat, but if you have joined any any of his group buys, he does have kind of like an update site now that will show all of the different updates for each of the group buys that have run. The Tin Series 1, the Clipper T, the Fjall, showing which part of the group buy process they're in, whether in pre-order, manufacturing, in production, going through quality control, or ready to ship to customers. You can track it all on there, nice and visually, which is really, really good to see.
Yeah, he already has a section up for the Tin Series 2 as well. That's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I think this a lot of people might have missed this, but he already has a page up for the tinned TKL as well. So if you're a fan of the tin design, but you wanted maybe something a little bit larger than a 60%, TKL on the horizon, it seems. All right, let's get to this Q&A, guys. Scrolling back up in chat just a little bit here. Swishy KB starting us off for Gondo. What is your favorite karaoke song? Are you a big singer, Gondo?
What happened was that it was a Saturday, like right out of the blue, in the IO3 server, we had all of these PCB designers, and I was just like, let's have a karaoke, and then we just had a karaoke, and then I cannot describe into words the feeling of having several PCB designers singing Justin Bieber. It was that's my favorite one by far. Oh, and I'm a metalhead, so I like black metal, and then I took one of those black metal songs and put in there and started singing it in this voice, and then everyone got and then I stopped it. It was hilarious. It was the best interaction I've had in this community in years. So Justin Bieber, the baby Justin Bieber.
Nice. Justin Bieber, baby. All right, yeah. Gondo's favorite karaoke song. Very, very nice.
Ever.
All right, Ludersama is asking, with all the GMK group buys making MOQ every month, the QA issues, and the whole pandemic going on, what are your thoughts on GMK currently? Ooh, that's a big question.
This is a big one to unpack. There's a lot in there. And I think it's something that we want to talk about on the show at some point soon. It's already on mine and Brian's topic.
It is on our topic list. Yeah.
So I won't go into too much detail, but I think there's a few high-level snippets of what we might talk about are the community's getting bigger, sets are selling more, and I think there's more opportunity for issues to happen and more opportunity for people to spot issues. I think the second thing is that the community absolutely needs to hold vendors and GMK to account. And yeah, I think the final thing is we're just waiting for GMK to release a specification that shows what they determine is acceptable, and then the vendors can start to help their customers understand what that means for sets going forward. So there's a lot more to it than that, and I know we're only just broadly touching the surface there, but it is something that we want to talk about on a separate show and really go into some detail, so watch out for that in upcoming episodes.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like this could be a really good topic to talk about next week when we have Mike of Novel Keys on the show. I'm not keeping all the guests a secret anymore, if you haven't noticed. But we're gonna have Mike on the show next week, and this could be a good question from him to kind of get a vendor's perspective on it, as someone that tends to run 1 or 2 or sometimes even 3 GMK sets per month, just to kind of see what kind of feedback he's been getting and maybe how he's been working with GMK to maybe correct some of these potential issues and such. So hopefully we'll get some more insight on that a little bit later. Hopefully next week. We'll add that to the next week's doc.
Absolutely. Next question comes from You Like It. He says, can I just buy the 105 loop from Amazon? Is it the same what the keyboard vendors are selling but out of stock? As long as it's manufactured by Miller Stevenson Krytox, then it should be the similar sort of things. You have to be kind of careful because there are some alternatives that aren't as good and aren't quite the same, that are still branded and marketed slightly differently. But if you're ever unsure, just drop a link into the Discord, and I'm sure someone will be able to help you out with a specific one that you're looking at. So we'll be able to take a look at that in the Discord and give you some feedback there.
Yeah, interestingly enough, all the 105 oil, 104 oil, 103 oil that even 106 oil that I've bought has been through eBay, and I've never had any issues. And interestingly enough, I know this was a problem a while back, but I forgot who it was, but someone was talking to me about how their GPL 105 was beating on where it kind of beads up when you try to lube on like the stem, for example. It was beating on pretty much every switch they were looping, and I was like, man, that's really weird. Mine doesn't do that, and I busted mine out, and I opened up a switch and I lubed it up, and I was like, yeah, this is totally fine. And we kind of maybe came to the conclusion that maybe some people are not actually getting the right 105, or maybe, there's some kind of variance somewhere along the line. So it is worth mentioning that what you might receive might not be the exact same product that someone else might receive, because it seems like there's been some kind of mismatching in how the 105 oils have been used for switch lubing over the last couple years. Some people are having very, very different experiences from me, for example. So definitely worth keeping in mind. Redachodot? I don't know what that's supposed to be, I'm sorry. What's the best way to clean pad printed caps like originative Japanese / Cyrillic? Ooh, good question.
Okay. So if I was going to clean some, I would use my ultrasonic cleaner with some distilled water and a tiny drop of dish soap. I wouldn't want to put anything caustic or toxic in there, because the pad printing is pretty soft. Whilst it holds up quite well to your fingertip usage for pad printing, it's not going to hold up to any solvents or anything else. So I would put it on a low heat in the ultrasonic cleaner with a tiny bit of dishwashing liquid that you'd use in the sink to wash your plates and pots and pans with, and lots of distilled water.
Yep, my thoughts exactly. That's what I do as well. Pylon7 has a question for Gondo. What got you into designing keyboards?
And that's what got me into 10 or 12. I used to assemble and design. These pedals that you use for guitars to make distortion and reverb and have those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to assemble and design those so that I could use. I had a band. I played the guitar. I still play, actually. And that's what got me to engineering and the PCB. So it got me into keyboards specifically after I was in engineering school. Was a friend of mine. He had an N Pro. Like in Brazil, sometimes I don't think that you guys have a notion of the dimension of how the keyboard community in Brazil is. An N Pro in Brazil is a high-end keyboard, because the availability that we have with those things is so limited that custom keyboards are unicorns. So he had that, and I thought it was fucking amazing. Look, what the fuck? That's wireless. It's RGB, and it has the switches. I didn't know how the switches were called. And I want one. And then I got one. And then I sank down that rabbit hole. Sometime later, after like 3 years of usage, my N Pro just got blasted. And then I tried to design a new PCB, and then it came all together. That was in 2013. So that's what got me to keyboard PCBs.
Nice. Uncool Dude is asking, I've just recently gotten into the hobby after 20 plus years in the IT field, and I'd be curious to know any recommendations you would have for a pre-built full-size keyboard. I've already got a 60% and 65%, but being left-handed, I use a full-size board for gaming, because I map keys on the numpad for game features and use the arrow keys for movement. Need more lefty 11. Interesting. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, that makes sense. I'm left-handed as well, but I actually I type and use my mouse like right-handed, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's recommendations for a pre-built full-size keyboard.
Yeah, I think the only one that comes to mind that I enjoy as a full-size custom keyboard is actually manufactured by GMK, or their retail arm, which is Uniki. And they do a board called the Q100. It comes in either ANSI or German ISO. Of course, you can replace the caps, and you can kind of pick which switches you want in there from Cherry MX. And there's kind of a few different configurable options, but that's full-sized. And do you know what? I actually kind of like using it. I think it's a pretty good board. Let me see if I can find a link to that real quickly.
Nice. Yeah, as far as pre-built full-sizes, I think most of the stuff from Leopold is pretty good as far as an OEM is concerned. If maybe you're more of like a Topra fan, Real Force has a full size that's pretty nice as well.
Yeah, I've never used any of their full
feel
sizes,
like-
so I can't comment on them. That's
Oh,
the only
man.
full size I've tried.
I feel like we can get deeper in this, and I feel like instead of a full-size keyboard, and obviously this could be a discussion for our Discord server link below, but maybe something a little bit more custom that is specifically meant for gaming. So I'm assuming, by saying you're left-handed, you use your mouse with your left hand and you use your keyboard with your right while you're gaming. I feel like you could get... there's a lot of products in the market. For example, like half an ErgoDox. I know I'm going to get corrected in chat because there's lots of other products that are going to be way better for this. But you can literally just get something that's meant to be used with one hand, or like one part to one hand, and you kind of just angle that and use that as your gaming keyboard. Which might not work quite as well as like a typing keyboard, but a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll just have a single keyboard for typing right in front of them or whatever, and then like on their left or their right they'll have a gamepad basically, and you can just use the gamepad for gaming, and that way you don't have to worry about your actual keyboard.
Yeah, he actually comes back and he says he's been looking at the Cypher as an FYI, and he really liked the design, but the price is pretty steep. I thought the Cypher was well priced. I mean, that's slightly different. It is a mini 1800 rather than a full size, so there's some slight differences in terminology. If you're looking at 1800s, there's also the HBCP, which is really, really good. I'd definitely take a look at that. Trying to think what else there is that's been recently around that might be available.
Something I don't know when it's coming to GB, but you could look at the SPV one. It's a board that I'm working on with Bisoromi, and it's basically a Southpaw compact. I've shown it. I have a prototype at my house. I've shown it in stream a couple times. It could help. I don't know when it's coming though.
Nice. I feel like this would be a good discussion for the Discord too, because I think a lot of people there might have really good suggestions. I feel like there are a decent amount of pre-built OEM full size in the market. Pretty much anything from Leopold, people like IKBC. Someone in chat is saying Ducky as well. There's going to be a lot of full size pre-builts that'll probably do the job for you if that's all you're looking for. But I feel like if you don't mind getting a little bit more in depth and a little bit more creative, you might be able to get something that's a little bit more fine-tuned for gaming with your right hand on the keyboard. It just wouldn't necessarily always be, a full keyboard, for example.
Absolutely.
I know for a while, I actually I had a plank that I used specifically for gaming. So like I'd have a keyboard in front of me, then I have a plank off to my left, and I would just use because I rotate my keyboard when I game, like clockwise. So I wouldn't have to move my keyboard. I would just put my hand on my plank to game, as opposed to just using the keyboard right in front of me. And obviously that's a really basic example, but a lot of people, specifically in the Japanese community, get really, really in depth with like really custom compact layouts that are split or ergonomic, one-handed, that kind of thing. And it's really quite something. If you're willing to dive a little bit deeper into the hobby, you can discover a lot of pretty highly custom stuff. A lot of it not that expensive, honestly.
You could get a Sagittarius.
Absolutely, yeah. That's not a bad option. Yeah.
You shill all you want, Gondo. I don't mind.
No, I was just poking fun around.
No, man, you can chill. I'm being serious. All right.
Next question comes from Biohazard, and he says, "What were your first mechanical keyboards and why?" Gondo, do you want to take this one first? What was your first mechanical keyboard? I think you might have mentioned this earlier on, actually.
My first mechanical keyboard, like the one that I've ever used, was an IBM Model F.
Ooh, classic.
It was an old one that the university had, and no one gave a shit about it. And I took it, and I have it to this day.
Excellent.
Wow. It was an old unit from a Brazilian factory. So I don't know if that counts as mechanic in the modern sense.
I think it counts.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, that's a mechanical keyboard.
100%
counts. The end probe that I have just cited.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between mechanical and custom. That's the differential there. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Model M, Model F, definitely mechanical keyboards, whether, it's a capacitive buckling spring or membrane buckling spring. I think it's pretty widely accepted that a buckling spring keyboard is without a doubt a mechanical keyboard.
Yes, yes. What was your first mechanical keyboard, Brian?
This was in 2013, I picked up a Cooler Master Quickfire Rapid. This is well before the Rapid Eye came out, so before they had the kind of RGB stuff going on. And it was amazing. I did a little bit of research. I wasn't in the keyboard community when I got it. I was very much in the PC community. I was kind of a very knowledgeable PC guy because I was just doing that I was building and fixing PCs for years basically at that point. And I had finally picked up a mechanical keyboard, and I did a little bit of research on Cherry switches because at the time it was Cherry that you didn't have Gateron or Kale or JWK or any of that stuff. It was Cherry, so I was pretty much deciding between their primary switches, red, black, blue, so on, brown, so on and so forth. And I read a lot of the very basic things that I think a lot of people read when they first start getting into mechanical keyboards, where red is a gaming switch, and blues are a typing switch, and browns are the hybrid switch, so it's in between.
I would kill whoever says that.
I know it's really hard to listen to. And thinking back on it now, it's kind of rough to think about. But I did a little bit of research, and I was like, I'm a big guy. I probably type pretty hard. I have strong hands. Like I'll go for a heavier switch. So I opted for Cherry MX Blacks. So those were my very first switch, Cherry MX Blacks in the Cooler Master Quickfire Rapid. And man, I loved that board. That board, it was on sale. I think I paid like $70 or $75 for it. And it was just lovely. And I used that for about a year before I really got into the community. And after that, that's when I started kind of experimenting. Like, let me buy another board. Like maybe another switcher feel different. And then it was just all downhill from there, or uphill, depending on how you're looking at it, I guess.
Fair enough. I think if I go really far back, my first ever experience with a mechanical keyboard that I owned was probably the one that came with my Commodore. I actually just got back into these Commodore boards, and I've just hunted down 2 of them quite recently and paid a pretty penny for them. But I think that was probably my first ever mechanical keyboard that I had when I was a kid. God knows what happened to the ones that I actually owned back then. They've probably just been destroyed, lost to time. They could be in someone's attic somewhere, I guess. I don't know. In terms of custom and being in the hobby, it was a Poker 3, which I just got picked up for some reason. I don't know why. I just did. I think it was just an impulse buy at some point. And then from there, I went to a CM Storm. And then from there, I went to quite a few different customs. I kind of dropped quite heavily into the customs. I think at that point, the Duck was running a group buy, and I ended up getting a Viper V2 at that point, I think, and a few other boards as well. So, it was a bit of a quick drop in at that point to the high end of the community.
Oof,
for better or worse. Yeah, for better or worse. For worse for my wallet, certainly.
Oh, yes, definitely. Man, shout out to the Poker 2 as well. That board really got me into the community.
Yeah.
The Poker 2 was a revolution for me. I just had
it was a downgrade
one.
to the CM Storm. It was an absolute downgrade to that CM Storm.
Yeah. Man, I loved the Poker. The stock Poker 2 MX Browns, the stock PBT keycaps actually felt pretty alright. Yeah. I mean, I need to find one of those and pick one up.
Absolutely.
It's been too long. OGE Pog is asking, I was able to catch the tail end of your toxicity discussion, so you don't have to answer this if you don't feel like if you feel like you've talked about this too much already. But do you have any advice on how to bounce back from trolls/unkind DMs? I found out all of the nice comments and interactions I've had in this community. It's the more negative ones that really stand out. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much always how it is, right? Like, the negative stuff is always going to stand out more than the positive stuff. I used to play a lot of poker, and this really relates over to that. Everyone always remembers when you get really unlucky. Everyone always remembers when you get really unlucky against someone else, but you never remember when you get really lucky against someone else. And I feel like the same kind of is true of the keyboard community, too. Like, the negative and the unfortunate stuff always stands out so much more. Always, like, you can't. It's hard to turn off your brain to that kind of thing, right? And we just wonder why. And I feel like this is a great question for Gondo, actually, since this is something that he's dealt with a fair amount in the past. How did you bounce back, Gondo?
Now, the first thing, gosh, I'm such a fucking nerd. The first thing that I understood about negativity is that it's natural. Remembering it's actually a very understood effect in psychology and psychiatry. It's called the negativity bias. We tend to remember negative feelings and situations better than good ones, even if they were in equal strength. That's because of how our brain processes negative information. There is more brain effort involved in processing those, so we remember it more. So it's completely natural. What you have to do is make the fight against it in the sense that you remember yourself, make a point of remembering yourself constantly about the good thing, which is what I do, right? Which is what I try to do whenever I get some unsavory moments or discussions. I try helping someone else. I try opening my DMs and seeing the fucking thousands of DMs of people asking for help, and I try to help someone, and that brings me satisfaction in helping someone. And yeah, it evens out. And making that point of remembering the good stuff or that time about when you felt good about something that happened, it helps.
Yeah, I've actually been seeing some studies recently. As I've been getting more into like the self betterment aspect of life, and I've been learning a lot about mental health and non-religious spirituality and just like the workings of the human brain on a psychological level. There are a lot of studies that show that if you help someone else, that's like legitimately one of the best things you can do for your mental. Like it really is. And something I've been preaching a lot lately is gratitude. And like I'll say it in the Discord like every couple of days to them, like, hey everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. Like make sure you remind yourself of something you're grateful today, and like think about that a little bit, and like be grateful, because like a lot of us, we take a lot of things for granted. I think it's just kind of human nature. We just take a lot of simple things like kindness for granted. And I think if you're grateful and you are consciously aware that you're grateful for this reason or that reason, I think it's a very powerful thing.
I I think that there is this thing about suffering that makes it the universal language. Helping people ease whatever problems they have is something that you can relate to in any language, in any situation, whoever you are. When you see someone suffering, even if you can't talk to that person, you will feel something about that. So I think that it only shows about exactly what you said. Helping someone is by far one of the best ways that you have to get around that.
Yeah, it seems so pointless and simple, but it's such a monumental thing, especially once you do start practicing these small things on the regular.
Yeah, it's hard to say these kinds of things, right? But I think that everyone should try at least to get into those, voluntary programs of helping people that desperately need help. It really helps you to get out of your how can I say this? Your reality, really, your problems, and put yourself in someone's shoes, and knowing someone that has way, way worse problems than you have. And that makes you very, very better, at recognizing that your problems are sometimes just unfounded, which is something I really recommend to people.
Yeah, definitely. Pylon7 is asking which Model F you had, the AT, XT, or Bigfoot.
I have the earliest one, the XT, which has the strange ass connector.
Oh yeah, is it the? It's like a DIN 5, right? Is that what it's called?
Something like that, isn't it? Yeah.
It's pretty classy.
I don't remember if it was this one. I remember that there was one Model F. I don't remember if it was this one specifically that had a proprietary IBM connector. I believe it was this one. It's a very weird connector, and it makes me really sad because I won't be able to get that when the PCB eventually fails. I won't be able to fix it in any way possible because I can't find that anywhere.
Do you guys remember a Sorer's converter?
Yeah.
Anybody old enough to remember that in the community?
You can still pick them up. Sora's not been around for a long time now. I don't think I've seen him post anywhere for years now. Yeah, it must be a long time since he posted anywhere.
Good stuff. All right,
He was.
that's actually the end of our Q&A section. Not a ton of questions today, but we definitely had some good ones, and I think
Yeah, some
we
solid
had a lot of
questions.
really good discussion as well. A lot of really good discussion. Any of you guys have any closing thoughts on our discussions today before we head out? Something to leave people
Just
with.
keep positive.
What about you, Gondo? Do you have any messages for the people out there watching? Any kind of culmination of what we've been discussing today? Some thoughts to leave people with before we head out?
Yes, don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. You heard it here first, guys.
Nice.
Yeah. Be kind. Try helping people, and remember always that keyboard community is not about keyboard. It's about the community.
Yeah. I mean, I think I speak for a lot of people here and say if it was only about keyboards, a lot of us might not be here anymore.
That's fair. Yeah.
I know that I mean I definitely still enjoy keyboards and I love seeing all the things that are coming out and stuff. But you know the people are really what keep me here, and if it wasn't for them, then I would probably be off. I don't know. I don't even know what I'd be doing. I'd probably be like an alcoholic or something. But you know, you never really know, right? You never know.
I'd probably be making chocolate pasta right now.
Chocolate pasta.
I'm gonna successfully make some chocolate pasta just for this episode, or because of this.
I've tried that recipe, like it's making it better day by day, and it's still shit. I have no idea on how am I going to, because I have to make it work now. I have to find a way to make it work now because I'm the shame of the family. I'm going to be fucking dishonored.
No,
so I have to work out, and I have no idea why I haven't
you have to impress your grandma.
I was about to say
you
have to do the ultimate feat for an Italian to make a new pasta dish that impresses your grandma.
And
which is probably impossible for like almost everyone. Chocolate pasta, guys. That's what you guys got to keep in mind for the stream. And with that said, we're going to be heading out for the day. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. You can check below the stream. You can join our official Discord there. You can have some conversations about keyboards or cheese or I don't know, some headphones or coffee. There's something for everyone there. We try to be pretty open minded as well. So make sure to join that. You can find our YouTube down below as well. All the VODs get posted about 24 hours or so after we are finished going live here. So. Keep that in mind, and big shout outs to Gondolindrim. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us on this discussion, because this has definitely been a good one, and I think we opened a lot of people's eyes a little bit.
Absolutely,
it's been great having you on, dude.
I'm always very glad to have these kinds of things. It's always a blast.
Jay, please. Don't worry. This will give me something funny to write for the YouTube description, anyways.
Yeah. One of those Clack, Top Gear references.
Yeah. I haven't got any messages about those or comments on those. I don't know if anyone's actually seeing them, but I'm really proud of them either way. Yeah, no one reads them, but it's fine.
Just in terms of upcoming streams as well, Brian, I think you were teasing a build stream soon as well.
Yes, I actually might be doing a build stream tomorrow, either at 3, 4, maybe 5 Pacific, depending on how things go. But I have an Iron 165 FE I need to get done that isn't mine, and the customer's been waiting weeks and weeks and weeks because I've been so busy and I'm a terrible person and I've been moving and doing all this other stuff. So I finally want to get back to that, and I want to get back to some building. There's numerous things I need to build, so lots of build streams coming up for me. I just got to get my camera set up tomorrow, which is the plan once I wake up.
Awesome. And I'll be doing a build stream on Sunday as well. I'm not sure what board it's going to be yet because I've got about 4 or 5 in the queue that I need to prioritize, so I don't know which one it's going to be. And I missed last week because I had problems with my back, but I'm all ready and raring to go and get a build underway. I might do 2 if I've got chance on the same build stream on Sunday. We might end up getting through 2 boards if I can fit 2 into the schedule. I will do that. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, looking forward to getting back into.
Are we just keyboard boomers? I hurt my knees from moving. You hurt your back from working. Like, are we just getting old, Jay?
Do you know what did my back? It was I was at my mother's house because, bless, my mum passed away, and we were trying to get her house ready for sale. And I was painting the ceiling, and it was reaching up with the roller, and it was doing that for like and it's a big old room that we were painting, and that's what did my back in, just reaching up all that time, because I was on a tiny stepladder, and I'm a short guy as it is, and I could only just reach if I was on my tiptoes on that stepladder, so it was just pulling my back in all the wrong ways, and that's what did it for me. Yeah.
Yeah, man, we just gotta start taking better care of our bodies, I think.
We do. Yeah, I should have just manned up, gone to B&Q or the DIY shop and bought a taller ladder. That's what I should have done. But no, I just struggled through it.
Uncool Dude says they make extension poles for rollers, Jay.
Yeah, I could have done that as well. I could have gone and got an extension pole, and I just decided to make do with what I had because I was an idiot. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we all have moments like that.
We do.
All right, guys.
It should be an step, right? I did that, but I didn't.
Yep. All right. Well, Gondo, thank you once again for showing up. I'm definitely going to have you back on. I'm going to have you back on the behind the keyboard segment though, because I want to dig a little bit deeper into your projects and your life, as opposed to just having some broad discussion here. So, we mix it up a little bit. Behind the keyboard isn't dead. I still want to do that, by the way. We had some great episodes already that a lot of people really enjoyed. So definitely going to get you back for that if you're game.
Problem.
Awesome. All right. Well,
awesome.
We'll coordinate that for the near future, and yeah, feel free to post any of your links in chat as well, Gondo. I was gonna link your Twitch, but I don't actually remember what it is.
Typical.
It's Gondolindrim with an underscore. Because someone took Gondolindrim already. By the way, fuck you. So there's the being toxic right now, right? The hypocrisy. There is an underscore there. But I don't have much to share. The only things that I have to share are boring PCB design stuff.
That's not boring.
That's not boring. In fact, one of the most interesting things to me in the community right now is when people are doing like design streams of like keyboards or PCBs. Like I remember Heine did one a while back, and I was like, okay, that's really cool. And I feel like we need more of that kind of content because it's super duper important.
Yeah, so I do design streams generally. Build streams, they are generally I build the stuff that I design, like the final step of this design process. Currently, whenever I get home, probably next week, I'll be home. I will start designing the version 2 of the Shark PCB, talking about the old Shark PCB. I'll design a second version of the Shark PCB, and the nice thing about that version is that the prototypes will entirely be funded with Twitch subscription money. Some godforsaken reason, people started donating money through Twitch subscriptions, and I felt bad using that money. So I was just, let's make something nice out of this. Let's prototype the open source project with that money. Nice. That's what the project I have. Awesome. Lots and lots of projects that I've gone. If people, it's chill here, but if people can help by subscribing and getting into there, all that money goes through open sourcing stuff, getting back to the community. Lesgolov, the train mount, leaf spring stuff was prototyped with donations and GB money and those things. The money that gets there, I never spend it for myself. So it costs money to prototype stuff. So if you guys could tune in, say hello to the stream, and be there, and we always have some very nice conversation. I try to be a funny person, even though the stream is boring because PCB design.
That's so boring. Help a lot. You're speaking to the right group of people, Gondo. We are the people who.
These are the nerdiest. Really how nerdy do you have to be to watch a keyboard stream, especially like a PCB design or a talk show like this? Like you have to be pretty like passionate and nerdy about the hobby to really sit down and watch this kind of content, and we appreciate you guys for that. So yes, make sure to check out Gondo's stream. Do you want to link your Discord as well? I don't know if is there an open Discord?
Okay, so the links that I can share are two. The first one being the Akron project, which is the documentation of the project that I have. Most PCBs are there, the ones that are documented, because documented is a pain in the butt. But they're there, and my Twitch would be Twitch.
Oh, I already spammed your Twitch. You're good there.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, those are honestly the two ones that I have.
All right, guys. So make sure you go check out the Akaran project and Gondolindrim's Twitch, and you will not be disappointed. Great guy doing great content, the kind of content we need in the community. So Gondo, thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully all of you guys out there had a good time, and you enjoy the rest of your days or nights, you know, wherever you are. Time zones, they exist apparently.
Yeah, it's time for a nap. I think it's starting to get light here.
Jay needs some sleep. We've been going for a while, so thank you guys for joining us. And yeah, look out for my build stream tomorrow. I'll post in the Discord, of course, link below, when I'll be going live. I'll try to post a couple hours beforehand so you guys have some heads up, and we'll do some things. I'll also be, if it arrives on time, I'll also be unboxing DCS Red Alert Round 3, so that'll be pretty awesome. That's scheduled to land tomorrow, so awesome. Looking forward to that one. So we'll check that out as well. All right, guys. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Actually, wait, no, hold on. We're gonna raid someone. That's what I want to do.
Let's raid someone.
I need to stop forgetting that. I've been pretty good about it. Who's live right now? Max is live. We're gonna raid Max. I think he's the only one I see live right now, unless I'm blind.
Merlin's live, Hugo's live,
what the heck? Why is
DD Decline's live. But let's do Max. You're right, let's do Max.
No, I think we did Max last week, right? We got to try to spread it around a little bit. I think so. I don't know why my raid button is telling me only Max is live. Let me refresh this real quick.
DD Decline is definitely live. Let's go raid him.
Go raid him? Okay, hold on a second. Let me make sure I get this right. DD Decline. That sounds like perfect. He's actually local to me, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really? Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, and he's super nice too. Really nice guy. Does really good work. So we're gonna go over and we'll say something wholesome to him. We'll tell him how amazing his hair looks, or how good his glasses look. His hair is actually pretty on point. It looks like by this thumbnail. So we'll have something to talk about there. So we're gonna go ahead and start the raid for him, guys. We're gonna show him some love, and you know, we'll just be nice. Try to spread the love around, guys. Maybe we'll raid Merlin next week. I think he usually goes live around now, anyways.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, get ready for the raid, and yeah, let's go have a good casual time, guys.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you.